In a distant Murim, in the empire, the emperor would take off his gear in front of his entire army and walk through a crowd of his soldiers. Standing in front of them, everyone gave a friendly shout of hurrah in his honor. The emperor said that they had done a great job. Having made a corridor of swords for their king, they amicably praised him for his great work. Just then a servant ran up to them and shouted that he had orders from the emperor's day. The king immediately told his soldiers to stand up. The servant said that their mentor, an associate, the one who trained the best royal guards, the great general Li Guo, let him listen to him. The servant said to Emperor Li, if they are the rulers of the great Ming, then the great commander is their sword. They and the great Ming only exist because he is here, and he is very sorry that there will be no more like him. So the great commander appoints a state councillor and gets amnesty. The servant told Emperor Li, if he gave up his post by resigning, the order would not take effect. They command him to remain a sword for their and the great Ming's sword forever. Let Li's body be on the brink, but that will never change the fact that he is their great mentor and associate. And then Li stood up and looked at the servant with the news for a long time. The servant said for everyone to stand, so great commander. Emperor Li was surprised to hear about the great commander, and slowly began to change before everyone's eyes. Li looked at himself beautifully, in a different coloring, and saw that he was rejuvenated, and he wondered. On the same day, the old man labored at the forge and built new swords for the emperor's soldiers. In this world, there existed, for divine Surim tools. One of them was the bloodthirsty dark god. Infinity King Murim came second. The third was the Buyok clan's bone collector, and this guy brought him an indestructible sword. He radiated nobility, though he looked no more than 20 years old. He looked as if he had never held a gun before. He said his name was Li Guo. Asked him to forge 30 swords with holes in the blades. The blacksmith had been working all this time to finish his order as quickly as possible. And now the last sword was left, unbending, gold and purple harmonized through it. The sword shone like a star in the sky. Legends say, a sharpness unchanged for thousands of years is incomparable. That's what they said about the unyielding. However, the blacksmith said and threw a sword in front of him. He told Li that he wasn't even human. But the blacksmith's son was beside them and tried to calm his father down. The blacksmith asked the guy, does he think a sword is just a piece of metal? A sword is a weapon that saves and kills people. He wouldn't have said anything to the guy if it was a sword from the market. But he dared to make holes in the best sword in the world. Let the guy tell the owner about it, and called him names. The blacksmith who accepted such an order would be a bastard too. Li didn't say anything to the blacksmith, and taking out the bag in front of him, he opened it and showed it. At that moment, the blacksmith swallowed his tongue. The blacksmith said he could have gold bars. He won't make swords with holes in them. Li took out the contents of the bag and placed it on the table. The blacksmith recognized it as meteoric iron when he saw it. The blacksmith asked him where he found such a jewel. Li said that he would not have come if it had not been a job for him. Chul Wang already thought that with this much iron, he would be able to make a sword that wouldn't bend even with holes in the blade. But who is this guy? The blacksmith did not refuse him and set to work. But in the moment of work, he thought that this guy reminded him of one man. How strange. Chul making the sword told Li that even if he didn't like it, let him keep it just in case. Li took it in his hands and said that this sword is beautiful. Chul asked the guy why he needed 30 swords with holes in them. Are they also made of meteorite iron, which is more expensive than gold? Li looked at the blacksmith and said that it was a gift. Chul was very curious and asked the guy, who are they for? Li said he couldn't talk about that. They looked at each other for a long time and said nothing. Chul accepted that no matter how many times he looked, he was still indistinguishable from that man. When he was young, he couldn't contain himself. He was eager to fight. Fighting and fighting, he thought no one could stop him. But in an instant, everything changed and he was attacked. But strangely enough, General Li Guo came to his rescue and saved him from death. The blacksmith remembered that his name was the same as the one who had saved him at that moment. And the blacksmith took that into consideration. Sitting at the same table as Li, Chul said that while serving in the army between battles, he heard a story. This story will be about a great follower of one clan. The guy knows her, right? Li asked, is this story about the oldest of the followers? Smith said correctly. One day the clan leader called him over and told him to join the army instead of the others. It was a thunderclap, but he was no ordinary man. The other followers were like brothers to him. Li Guol happily agreed, and went off to war. Li Guol arrived on the battlefield at this time, and survived because he was waiting for the day when he could return to the clan. But even if he wanted to die, he couldn't. But one day, the thunder struck again. He understood why the clan leader had sent him to war. The leader wanted to pass the clan to one of his sons, and thus chose the best. It was horrible. He wasn't there in person. He can't speak for him. But what was it like for him? It must have hurt a lot. When he heard about it, he couldn't say a word for a few more days. However, said Chul, he wondered if he was the same follower, and looked at the guy. Because his name was Li Guol. The blacksmith said, it doesn't make sense, right? If he were still alive, he'd be in his 90s. Chul said he didn't know why he was telling it to him, so young. Drunk, I guess. Chul said he'd like to repay him when he sees him. But he had to go now, and the last sword would be tomorrow. Li sat at the table for a long time after the blacksmith's story. Looking at his hand, he realized that it was all true. Did he tell Chul that he hadn't disappeared because he remembered him? The next day Li arrived, and the blacksmith told him everything was ready. Chul gave the sword to Li and told him to look at it. Li pointed it out and was very happy holding it in his hands. Chul asked Li if he could ask him something. Li smiled and told the blacksmith to speak. Chul said he thought about it the whole time he was working. But he still didn't understand why there were holes in the blade. Let Li share his wisdom with the old man. Lu looked at the blacksmith and motioned for him to move. Having failed to return to the clan, even after many years, nothing could fill the void in his heart. And then a man appeared in the past who promised to repay him with his entire being. The guy said he was a blacksmith and his skills could be useful. We'll pay him back somehow, have him come to the Wong family blacksmith. When he arrived at the forge, the man said his name was Wong Bek. And at that time, he handed him some material. A third-rate man will defeat a first-rate man by possessing the indomitable, so the legend of the sword, said Li. The blacksmith had been thinking all this time, why make holes in it? Just then, Li raised the sword above his face and it began to glisten. With a couple swings of his sword, Li transmitted a tremendous amount of power to him, during which he was covered in a bright light. Li decided to put it to the test, and with a swing of his sword in mid-air, slashed the leaf and then cut down the tree. The blacksmith stood by and marveled at his swordsmanship. He couldn't say a word. The blacksmith said 18 holes, is that for extracting internal energy? Li said something like that. The blacksmith realized that to show such power, one would just have to wrap around in a half circle, and if you spin it non-stop. The blacksmith asked if he could give a name for this sword. Li said he was giving him permission. The blacksmith asked Li what he thought of the name Thunder. Anything is better than Celestial Dragon or Invincible. Li took the sword case on his back and said that the name Thunder for sword, he really liked it. The blacksmith asked him, was he leaving already? Li looked at him and remembered what this blacksmith looked like before. The blacksmith asked him where he was going. Li gave him a piece of torn clothing and told him to let go of his debts of conscience. Immediately, Li called out his name, Wong Bek Bek. The blacksmith looked at the piece of clothing and cried, to be born is to raise a sword to the sky. To die is to disappear with the sword without a trace. Upon arriving at the Thousand Swords Academy, Mount Srong, Li stood in front of him and said that it had been a long time since they had seen each other. This 20th generation Thousand Sword Academy was run by Jeongpung. He became the Sword of Heaven in the Keonian battle. Li said he was late and could only cook this. May he forgive his great follower. Li put his sword in front of him and thrust it into the ground. But then he turned around and noticed something. Taking the water he poured over them, he listed all his friends and said that they had all died in the Keonian battle. This is the battle that took the lives of 15 of the 30 followers. While he was wondering what happened, he stood in front of his teacher's monument and said that if his heart that drove him out had been the same as it had always been, he would not have fought to the last with his students. Li said he had been thinking all this time, how could he not understand him? Bowing told him to sleep in peace. 6 years later in western Taihu, in Jiangsu province, the bank of the Wishan River, where the inn and brothels are located, there are plenty of places to enjoy life as long as they have money, and only one tea house. At Muju Tea House, the customer chooses his own cup and teapot. And of course, the tea itself too, but while they prepare it themselves, the price is determined after preparation. One nice lady sat in it and after drinking tea, she was happy with Muju Tea House. She looked at her and realized that he was not as he was described to her. That girl's name was Yoon Seo. Yoon Seo had heard rumors that there were over 100 women chasing after its owner, but the Murim Union has been convened for the first time in 15 years. They must send them, the home of the beautiful mothers, a message. And she was told not to cause trouble. Yoon Seo realized that the mission assigned to her was significant. It was natural for the vice leader of the House of Beautiful Mothers to punish men who fooled women, and at night, of course, they will show their true colors. And then Lee also came here and asked Yoon Seo for forgiveness? Yoon Seo realized immediately that he was here. Yoon Seo raised her head and looked at the guy and saw that he looked adorable to her. She thought, how many ladies' hearts had he stolen? Yoon Seo hoped that Lee would try something on her. Yoon Seo asked him what was wrong. Lee told Yoon Seo that he was sorry, but they were closing. And then Yoon Seo was surprised and didn't understand him. Lee said that Muju Tea House's rule is to close after sundown. So Yoon took out some money to pay him back. She was surprised. Opening her purse, she realized that she was in a hurry and had forgotten the money at home. What a shame for her. She confused her with a man who fools women. He realizes it, and she can't even pay for tea. What will the guy think of her? Why is she so offended? Yoon apologized to Lee and ran away abruptly. She kept apologizing to him as she ran away. Lee wondered if it was the girl who had tricked him. And then he smiled and realized that no one cared. 6 years ago, after handing over the scripture and thunder to the clan, he was able to meet the old monk in the tomb on the mountain, Tea Master Gong Ya. Lee Guol studied the art of the pulse, which allows you to control your body and mind while drinking tea, as well as the art of pouring it. The Muju Tea House was built to spread the art around the world. Muju is a house where you can listen to stories from all over the world. And then a man was saying that Gong Jeongum from the Thousand Swords Academy was finally named the first beauty in all of Jiangbei. She had been a beauty for 16 years after winning a martial arts competition. And at 20, a fragrant flower. But that's not all. Gong is said to be pursuing a shadowy assassin who has made a lot of noise in Shirangssi. It seems the Thousand Sword Academy is thriving, but then Lee noticed something on the ground, from that girl. He saw that it was a letter from the Murim Union to the leader of the House of Beautiful Mothers. Did he realize that that girl vice the leader of a mysterious sect that only included women? The House of Beautiful Mothers? Lee said that due to the important changes in the bloodthirsty demon sect, they are here to strengthen the alliance. Expect a lot of participants from there, Zhong Yuan and Luo Yang. And then Lee immediately thought of the bloodthirsty demons. There is also a financial institution called Hanjin. This estate is headed by Yo San, an honorable government official and the richest man in China. One evening, the honorable official Yo San received news. Then someone appeared in front of him, and the official recognized him. He said he wanted information on the bloodthirsty demon sect disaster. Leo laughed and said he was thinking about something else altogether. He surprises him every time he comes over. Leo said, "Does Lee know that there is someone who dared to lay his hands on his status, money, jumping over the walls of the financial institution?" Lee asked, "Did it have something to do with that?" Yeo looked at him strangely and asked if he knew about the silent sword. Lee immediately understood and asked, "Is this about Dok Bai?" He was a silent sword. 40 years ago, he was known for his chivalrous spirit, but after losing his arm, he started committing murders, thefts, even rape, and became an enemy of society. After stealing money from Khan's financial institution, he raped 8 women in the capital, brutally killed 6 of them, 2 survivors psychologically damaged so badly they couldn't even speak. Attacked a ball in the capital, causing 23 casualties. Yeo said that there are many rumors about why he came out of the underground, but thinks he is related to the recent movements of the bloodthirsty demon sect. And then Lee immediately thought of the bloodthirsty demon sect and Dok Bai, how they were related to each other. Lee went to the balcony of his room that night and thought that even he wanted to punish him as a martial arts student. But deeds in this world are not done by goodwill. Goodwill requires rewards, and the bad guys want to stop those rewards. And of course, said Lee, the process of breaking that chain is horrible. Is it different in Murim? He wondered. The price he paid to stay in this place, Dok Bai can't be caught even for 1,000 gold bars. And then he found himself in some place unfamiliar to him. The man was yelling at him to leave. But he did not want to leave his teacher. His teacher told him that he had to leave right now for the Thousand Swords Academy to survive. And at that moment he opened his eyes and saw a battlefield where he recognized himself at that time. But things turned out differently. They were losing that battle and Li said he wasn't going to die. And in the morning Li opened his eyes and realized that it was a terrible dream that was connected directly to him. Li did not lie down for long and began to eat breakfast. As he poured himself some tea, he remembered the monk. Since then, it had been 4 years since he had taught him how to perform the tea ceremony. He thought that many people studied it to relax their body and mind. Monk Da Song said to remember one thing. He saw through the divine eye a prominent figure in the future. The divine eye is one of the divine abilities in Buddhism. The eye is known to foresee the future. This young man in a blood-stained red robe. And he hopes this is Li's future. Li told his teacher not to worry, he would never go back to his old him who smelled badly of blood instead of tea. That night, on the full moon during the Mid-Autumn Festival, all the people who visited Muju Tea House made wishes. They looked at the same moon but wanted different things. They wished for health, overcoming financial difficulties and faithful love. Li also decided to look at the moon and wished the Thousand Swords Academy success. At that moment, he looked to the side and smelled the scent of blood. They were men. They sat down at a table and one of them said he had isolated all the sounds. The rest of us could talk. The man said they all needed to decide where they could hide for a while. It was Doc B, the silent sword. The man said, how about Hainan Sheng? They can take it easy, for now. And then the guy told him to shut up. The bald guy said that if they were caught by the leader of the House of Beautiful Mothers, their followers would burn all the Hainan ships to catch the master. The man told Dog that they would kill 2 birds with 1 stone by going to Shirangssi. Dog wondered about Shirangssi. Man said set a bloodthirsty demons and Murim fighting, it's always a mess there. Great town for avoiding unnecessary attention. Dog asked the man, what else? The man said the first beauty in Jiang Beigong Jian. Taste this beautiful madam. The bald man said they couldn't go to Shirangssi. The man was disappointed and asked why. Dog asked them what he didn't know. Baldy said that there was actually a problem with the academy wielding the Thunder Sword. Don said it was a third-rate Thousand Sword Academy or something, right? They announced they're going to find whoever turned Shirangssi upside down. The Shadow Assassin. He sought help from a sect of bloodthirsty demons after escaping from prison. They accepted the bastard despite him being an enemy of society in Murim. Dog asked the bald man why. Baldy said that the Southern King knows everything that is going on in China, claiming that there are 2 reasons. Dog said they are reasonable separations. Baldy said yes, blood demons targeting China. They are protecting a shadowy assassin who has a claim to the thunder-wielding Academy of the Thousand Swords. This is the first cause of chaos in Shiranxi's border area. The other is the divine artifact of thunder. Rumor has it, he's a completely different level from the Buiok clan's bone collector. The man said he was glad the bloodthirsty dark god was only interested in a piece of metal and not a pretty girl. Now it's time for them to have fun with Gong. Baldy shut him up and said that he had received the information. The cavalcade of the bloodthirsty demon, Black Storm, had already entered the human pass just before Shirangssi, and now the bald man said they had to go around Shirangssi. And then the man froze when he heard about the cavalcade of the Black Storm. Lee cut into their conversation and asked Baldy when he heard that. And then they all froze and turned back around. Dog realized that they had been bugged, despite the soundproofing. And now he realized that this guy was a professional. Lee said he asked him a fucking question. When did he hear about it? The man jumped across the table and told the foreman that he would take care of the kid himself. The man pulled out his sword and said that it would show him the terror of the highest level, the joyous lust of spiritual arts. The unity of the 5 swords. Lee was holding a bun and threw it right at the man. The man saw it and cut it into pieces and didn't realize what it was. After cutting the bun, they started attacking him and reaching for him. The man shouted for him to stop. Lee averted his gaze and teleported to the other side of the room. Baldy was surprised and couldn't believe it. Those buns clung to the man's body and began to slowly devour him. And entered his eyes. Lee asked Baldy when he heard the story. He realized the guy wouldn't feel sorry for him and would kill him. The bald man kneeled down and began to crouch, begging Lee to spare him. Great warrior. Lu was very angry and told him to answer. Baldy said he heard that about a month ago. And asked Lee to spare him, but Dog didn't like that, and taking the bald man's head with his hand, he began to use magic and kill him. there was a strong wind in the house, and everything began to blow away. And Dog turned into a monster, holding Baldy's body in his hands. After killing his partner, Dog asked Lee, what demonic vessel does he serve? Lee asked, what's another demonic vessel? Dog told him that it was useless to play the fool. Dog said that he knew that the 5 sect guards and the 12 demon vessels commanded by the Bongshin clan had influence in the demon sect. The vassals of the 12 demonic vessels kneel before the dark god. It's time for his right-hand man to get his revenge, but he needs to know which demonic vessel's vassal he killed. And here Lu didn't feel sorry for him and used his strength. In a moment, Dog froze and couldn't move, and then a light came down in front of him, and Dog saw a sword with holes in the blade in front of him. Called Thunder, Dog was surprised to see such power. A legendary rebirth master from the Thousand Swords Academy, he was always curious to know what would happen to someone who recognized the power of thunder. Lee demonstrated the power of this sword and pointed it at the enemy. Dog looked at it with a smile and thought it was a marvelous creature. Lee said, he's coming back, his disciples, and attacked with such a powerful force that the tea house exploded into pieces. That evening, Lee walked away from the scene, leaving Dog's body, murdered and blooded at the scene. Earlier in the morning in Shirangssi, Lee arrived there and saw that everything was trashed and broken. Lee walked in there and realized he was too late. He should try to feel something using the art of spreading tea. Entering his subconscious, he saw that a pack of enemies had arrived here on their horses. But there was also a cool black storm, and he thought that was strange. He did not understand, for he could not feel the traces of his disciples. But then, in a moment, a bird flew to him with something attached to its legs. The letter said that the cavalcades, the Thousand Swords Academy, had been alerted and evacuated in groups. Their allies move with the performance of the bloodthirsty demon sect. Han Jin's financial institution. Lee looked around and saw that the light on the lake had faded. And now he couldn't waste any time at all. But there is also Human Pass, a fence on the way to the desolate desert where Lee was headed. This barrier borders the central region and the outskirts. It is infested with barbarians and enemy units. The bloodthirsty demons were the last organization to protect the academy's students from attacks. Just then a guard shouted to the general and ran to him with news. When he arrived, he said that someone was trying to cross the border. The guard understood that it was an unspoken rule that Zhongyuan and army representatives should not invade each other's territory. This guy rides his best cavalry horses. He's well versed in military affairs. Lee asked him, is he the one Kwok Chung? The one who defeated the Heavenly Helper clan in Shirangssi 30 years ago? Kwok Chung asked the guy who he was. Lee asked him if he knew State Councillor Lee Guol. Did Quan realize that this was an unwavering general? It couldn't be, that look and power. It looks just like him. Lee pulled a token out of his pocket and threw it into the general's hands. The guard asked the general, is he okay? The general told them to open the gates. The guard told the general that they can't let anyone pass through without the emperor's orders. The general said this guy is his teacher. State Councillor Lee Guol. The general ordered them to open the gate for him immediately. Lee realized that he couldn't stop the course of the moon and sun from making the night continue. It's impossible to save everyone who disappeared from the Thousand Swords Academy. However, it's not over until he chops off the head of the culprit. Lee must make a deal with a sect of bloodthirsty demons to avenge his students. Upon arriving at the site, Lee said he hoped he made it in time. The guards asked if there were birds in the deserts. His partner told him that was nonsense. After all, there would be nothing for them to eat. And then they saw a silhouette in the sky that was heading towards them, and it was Lee, who was attacking them. Lee dropped on them like a bomb and killed every last one of them, leaving behind a trail of impact. But then the others ran up to him and asked Lee who he was. The squad leader said that this guy was very good. He would never have thought that someone would dare to attack a sect of bloodthirsty demons from the main gate. He asked Lee, is he from the Murim Alliance? Lee asked them why they were attacking the Thousand Swords Academy. The head said it was the first time he had heard of it. Lee looked at him angrily and said that he had better remember the cavalcade of black storms that had destroyed her in Shirangssi by the river. The head started laughing when he heard about the Thousand Swords Academy. He said that those weaklings who dared to keep the Divine Thunder artifact in their possession? The head asked, is that a reason for a lion to eat a rabbit? Lee said, survival of the fittest, right? The head laughed and said that's why the guy is going to die now. Lee looked at them and realized that he couldn't waste any more time. The head ordered his men to kill this guy. Lee showed his strength and said that he needed to meet the leader of the bloodthirsty demon sect. Lee did not spare them, and opening all of himself he attacked them with rays of his power. And left behind nothing but ashes. After dealing with them, Lee took his sword and headed towards the sect gate. Without any hesitation, once inside he was told to stop immediately. Lee told them to bring their leader. One of the 12 demonic vessels. Sura said they don't have one. There is only a dark god to whom they pray. Sura said that the dark god is not someone to be seen at will. He must defeat him and the other demonic vessels, and then defeat 10,000 of their followers. Only after that can he meet him. Lee drew his sword and attacking said that if he had to go that far, so be it. Lee didn't spare him and knocked out the old man in one fell swoop. At this moment, the soldiers were all surprised and realized that they were not equal in strength to him. Lee said he'd make him show up before he finished every last one of them off. But here came another vessel named So Hong. He said that the glory of the defenders of the 5 sects had been blackened. He will do the honor in his place. Seo says that in Murim they call him the Bloody Blade. He wants to see if the boy can handle it, but then someone told everyone to stand back and said this guy was out of their league. He's gonna kill them all. He said that 10,000 demons should bow down and lower their heads. Their god had come down to them again, and then Lee froze and looked up into the sky and saw the silhouette of the sect leader. He felt that he hadn't felt this way in a long time. Was there ever anyone under heaven who could match him? And then the dark god Beyond Illinois appeared. Beyond asked Lee, was he talking about the Thousand Swords Academy? Lee said that his sect wanted to destroy the academy in pursuit of its treasure. Does he know about it? Beyond said he didn't know about it. A servant came up to him and whispered something in his ear. Beyond said some demonic vessel coveted the Sword of Thunder, as well as revenge on a lowlife with the moniker of Shadow Assassin. Lee turned on his bright eyes and told Beyond to return the academy to its former state. Beyond got angry at this and said he was very interested. Lee wasn't left out either, and turned on his powers to the fullest as well. Beyond said that God does what he wants, and he doesn't have to obey any man. Lee told himself that he would prove himself worthy of having his wish fulfilled. This is the only way to save his brothers and sisters. Lee told Beyond if he could change places. Immediately they both headed for the mountain where there was no one. Upon seeing the sword, Lee Beyond said Thunder, Thousand Swords Academy. It has holes in it, just like the legends say. Lee adopted an attack pose and said that his sword was good too. Beyond laughed and said that Dark Soul, the greatest under the heavens, dare to call him just good? Lee got tired of waiting and told him it was time for them to start the battle already. And Beyond said he agreed. And immediately they started attacking each other. In the moment, sparks of swords could be heard from their blows, and explosions of attacks. Finally, the unbending one met the Dark Soul. The man looked at the mountain and couldn't believe that this was the man fighting their lord in Kanho. It was Daeho Muin. Daeho told everyone to take their places and headed up the hill. The soldiers shouted after him, but he did not hear them. Daeho realized that he was ordered not to follow Beyond, but he can't leave him alone. This is not just bloodshed, but a battle that will go down in history. Daeho arrived at the spot and hid behind a rock, but when he saw them he was very surprised. Daeho saw the bright light that was emitted from their battle, and said it was incredible. At this time, they were fighting in the air, and no one wanted to lose. But Daeho wanted to intervene, but stopped himself at the moment. Daeho watched and couldn't believe that it was true that people were fighting. But the power of their attacks exceeded the limit of their aura. But that wasn't all. Daeho saw a sword capable of dealing with a dark soul in the guy's hands. It's a Thunder, from the Thousand Sword Academy. It's no match for him. Beyond said that the dark soul absorbs darkness and constantly increases the power of the wielder, the best sword in the world. Lee said sparkling gold and purple. What if the Buddha statue disappeared a long time ago, and at that moment, they decided that this had to end, and turned on full blast. Daeho stood and stared, the light blinding his gaze, and then they calmed down and stood against each other. Daeho watched and wondered who had won. Beyond lowered his sword and came down to the ground. Daeho saw him and went straight to him. Beyond told the honored subordinates 10,000 demons. The second coming of Sangi's generation. The soldiers came up to him and bowed, and saw that their masters had not a scratch on his body. Bion told everyone to stand still and ordered Ma Zhou to approach him. Ma approached his master. It was one of Ma's 12 vassals. He bowed and told the Lord to give him a chance to redeem himself. Bion would not forgive him, and without saying a word, cut off his head. He told the Bloody Blade to come to him. Bloody Wedge got on his knee and said he was at his service. Bion didn't turn back and told him to give it back. Blood Blade asked the head what he meant. Bion told him to return the Thousand Swords Academy to its former state, and hearing these words from the head, everyone was surprised. And Bion went quietly into the sect and sat on his throne. Then a servant came to him and stood before him. Bion asked him what he wanted. The servant said he was looking for him. Bion said he thought he wanted to know a lot of things, but didn't ask. The servant said that his presence clears things up. Bion said he was sorry for betraying his trust. And then the servant was at once surprised at these words. Bion said he was leaving for training. Have him tell the general to extend the festival in honor of his second coming. Then Bion took up his sword and told the servant to go to Kanho. The servant asked him why. Bion looked at his sword and said, to find out more about that person's background. His name is Li Guol. The servant said as the head wishes, it will be so. Bion kept repeating Li's name and couldn't forget it. While he was cultivating on the mountain, Li thought, Bion or Guan from the bloodthirsty demon sect. Who will actually win? All the currents, waves, and streams end up becoming one whole sea. Even though they are different types of martial arts, he thought that reaching the top, the route would be the same. But today he realized he was wrong. Dark God Bion, his energy was too pure, not evil, said Li. But as he fought, he felt like he was fighting pitch-black darkness. Even if he won, said Li, it was definitely not the end. Bion promised to restore the Thousand Swords Academy to its former state. Though no one mentioned it, there was long ago another promise. But as a man living under the same heavens and in the same generation as Bion, he will fight him again. A time when he was a great warlord, sword emperor, and legend of the Thousand Sword Academy. His lowering it, and also all his services have been in vain, Li said. And his will was too weak? How could he have forgotten that? Along with strength comes responsibility. He thought that the Thousand Swords Academy would prosper if he passed the sword technique and thunder to them. How foolish! Millions of soldiers and government officials are in the same boat, all connected to the rise and fall of the empire. The Academy of the Thousand Swords is one of many in the Murim. Its fate is incomparable to that of the Murim. If a small clan is too strong, it will be devoured by others, and Li had overlooked this. It must be because he had lived as a general of the imperial palace for longer and longer than a member of the academy, and then Li stopped on the mountain and wondered what he should do next. And what to do, but he was not alone on these mountains, and the captain of the 3rd Squadron of the Black Storm Cavalcade, Kwang Chan, was also in these places. Kyung said that they had finally broken away from the pursuit of the Murim alliance. The left wing of the military base. Surely they asked for help from the Murim clans rather than the military? That's a very good thing. Gun saw the men and said that here they would leave the cavalcade. The soldiers said it would be done. A group of people were heading into the forest, and 21,000 Swords Academy leader 1 said that Gong Jion had done very well. The junior apprentice of the Gong Jion Thousand Swords Academy told the master that it was not good. The sect traces from Manhwa and the southern edge are lost. She thinks they are chasing the Black Storm Cavalcade. Wu said it's fine, since they aren't the ones being hunted. Gong told Hua to take a break and she and Saren will take night watch. Hua said fine, he leaves it up to her. Gong walked around in circles and saw that all the soldiers were tired and very hungry. So she decided to look around the area. Looking around, she heard the sound of water and headed along the river with her doggy. Squatting down by the river, she sighed and wondered why out of the blue the Thousand Sword Academy was on the verge of extinction. If only the master's brother, Li Guol, who handed her the sword 6 years ago, was here. Gong said to Saren, he must be tired too, but would he help her? Sa listened to her, and came closer and licked her cheek. Gong started laughing and said she was ticklish. Gong said that everything in life is now her responsibility. No time for weakness, and then Sa looked towards the forest, and started barking loudly. Gong turned around and asked him what was wrong. Gong headed straight for her army and realized that there was someone else in this forest besides them. Gong stopped and saw a light in the bushes and pulled out her swords. Gong saw that everything around her was covered in flames. The man came out of the bushes and started laughing. He told her not to worry, he had already taken her buddy too. Just then, Hua shouted to Gong Jorn not to stay here and run far away. The shadow assassin stood in front of her and laughed. Gong didn't want to go and leave them, and shouted to her master. Gong lost her temper and said that life is raising the sword to the sky, death its disappearance. Immediately, she began to attack the shadow assassin. But he saw it coming, and was able to dodge her attack. The shadow assassin said he didn't mean to maim her, but she left him no choice. He'll have to teach her a lesson. Gong reflected his toku, but he was so strong that even she slipped back and immediately began to attack. The guy shouted to Gong that she was open and would now lose. Gong was not confused and repelled his attack. The shadowy assassin fell down and holding the broken sword said he had an advantage. Gong said that fighting is not just about brute force. And then she pulled out her sword and told him to burn in hell. Gong didn't feel sorry for him and killed him. But seeing the soldiers beside her, she asked them why they didn't help. Isn't the shadow assassin in league with a sect of bloodthirsty demons? She asked. The boy asked, at one with those beasts. The guy said she was good for her age. Probably even better than those insects from the sects on Mount Hua and the southern edge. Gong realized that it was the cavalcade of the Black Storm. Their mentor had been killed by their snake spear. The guy stood in front of her and said his name was Kyung-chan. And he doesn't serve those dogs like she thought. When Hua heard about the Black Storm cavalcade, he was surprised. If they were pierced by the snake spear, their organs would simply explode, unless, of course, they die and remain crippled. Many Murim martial artists and fellow students of the Thousand Swords Academy were killed by him, including his father, the leader of the academy. Gong Jong is their hope. He will save her even at the cost of his life. The boy told the master if they could hold out a little longer, the Murim alliance would find them. If that happens, and then Jian said not to rely on them. The sects from Mount Hua and the southern region tried to persuade them, but no one in the Murim alliance dared to fight them. The guy said it couldn't be. Kyung said they'd better rely on the military. He's the leader of the Thousand Swords Academy, and then Gong stood in front of him and decided to fight. Kyung told his men not to interfere. The Kyung man told the captain that they had to hurry. Let him not forget that they are on the other side of Human Pass. Kyung asked him, is he afraid the Murim alliance will come after them? Does the servant think he will lose to the thunder? The servant says he doesn't. Kyung said that from now on he fights not as a cavalcade captain, but as an independent martial artist. And then the servant said that he obeyed. Kyung twirled his spear in front of Gong and told her to show him the thunder. Gong pulled out his sword and said he would get it. Kyung said he would let her start first. Let her not hesitate and attack right away. Gong thought sword fight with the spear, of course he has the advantage. She doesn't know how fast it moves, need to keep an eye on the spear. Gong decided to attack, and in her moment of attack, she saw that she was close. If she hit now, it would be the end. But Kyung set up his spear and repelled the attack. Gong flew back, and Kyung stood still and watched her. He saw how surprised she was. The guy said he fended off an attack with the wooden part of the spear. He doesn't even have to dodge. Gong knew that she had fought against the best from different sects in Murim competitions. But he's on a completely different level. She feels that he has something to do with the sect leaders of the Great Nine sects. The best of the best, Kyung said, she can't even cut wood with a sharp blade. Now it's his turn. Will she dodge? If she can't, she'll die. Gong realized that she had a chance and needed to fight. She dodged all of his attacks and managed to attack back. Kyung saw that she would not give up and attacked her once more. Gong noticed that his blows were coming at her more and more often. Gong counted all his attacks and moments and realized that now was her chance to attack and end it all. So she decided to increase the distance. Gong noticed that things were bad. Kwang asked her, is she trying to keep her distance against the spear? Kyung got it, and Gong couldn't dodge it. Master Hua decided not to hesitate and attacked him from behind. Kyung noticed this and repelled his attack with the spear tip. Hua was surprised, and Gong saw this and shouted to the master. Hua said for Gong to save herself. Kyung got angry and said that he doesn't know how to give up, yes, and immediately launched an attack on the master. Gong decided not to run away and stood up for her master. Kyung told her to keep her eyes on him. Gong asked him why. It's not like he's fighting at full strength anyway. Even with that advantage, she couldn't hit him even once. Kyung said that she didn't put her best foot forward either. He knows that her academy's technique is not easy. Is fighting at full strength to the death so difficult? Immediately, Gong thought about what he said. Gong knew that for the Thousand Swords Academy, crushing mountains with a special technique was an art. Flow connects one stance to another. This sword technique, which has 8 stances, is based on fluidity. Each stance must be consistent with it, and she forgot about the flow that included half of the crushing technique. She swung her sword like an amateur, making her attacks look dull and unaesthetic. Kyung assumed the attack position and thanked him for the lesson. Kyung said to give him the black spear. Kyung said that for her, he had no need to use it. Gong realized that it was time to give her best. She wouldn't fail now. Gong decided to attack him with a crushing 13th technique. This strike transforms into a formidable skyscraper. Gong said that the strength of a sword depended not only on the steel, but also on the level of techniques used. They would be able to combine good material with skill. Gong said that crushing mountains with one swing of the sword. That's the art. And then the guys all marveled at her ability. Kyung said it was amazing. Immediately, Gong dared to attack, with her powerful attack. On the attack, Gong shouted that she was going after him. Kyung took a stand and told them to go to him. They were both strong warriors, and determined to fight to the death to reveal the winner. Kyung said that he couldn't see, but he could feel the power of her reception. That's it. If he can't see, he'll destroy everything. Jian said that it was a bloodthirsty black storm spear. It had been perfected by many leaders. Colliding together, there was a large explosion. Hui said it was the energy from the sword? Did Gong achieve that? Just then, Hui stood up and walked into the smoke left behind from their battle. He docked to his disciple, but the battle wasn't over yet. Gong and Kyung stood to the last and were ready to fight on. And then Kyung was holding his spear, and he saw the blade of the spear start to bend. The boys saw it and couldn't believe it. Kyung said, "So this is how it is, the real technique of the Thousand Sword Academy?" Just then, Gong looked up and nodded at him. The guard approached the captain and said that a bird had just brought a message from a sect of bloodthirsty demons. Kyung read the letter that was handed over and said that he should strengthen this girl's enlightenment even if he died. But then the guard came up behind her and Kyung saw this and told him to leave her alone. Gong came to her senses and regained all her strength. Kyung walked up to her and asked, "Is she all?" Gong said, "Yes, it's over." Kyung said they will continue when they meet again. The men asked the captain what it was. Kyung said it was a message from a sect of bloodthirsty demons. People asked, "What is Kyung Chan carrying?" "The battle is won. They are the Shining Pegasus clan, can't accept." But then again, Kyung didn't dare to be spoken to like that, and didn't give the man a chance as he cut him to pieces. Kyung said it's the divine will. Does anyone else want to object? And then people gathered and couldn't say anything. Kyung put on his hat and said they were going back to base. Kyung left thinking that her tech, he may have seen one like it at the Thousand Swords Academy. And a cult of bloodthirsty demons. Hui asked Gong, "Is he okay?" Gong hugged the master and said she was fine, no need to worry. Hui asked her what was that? Gong showed the magic and said she couldn't explain it. She just felt it. Hui said he was proud of her. After the founder of the academy passed away, one couldn't even come close to such a thing, reach the 13th stage, but she, Gong Jion, would be able to reach the other 5 stages. Gong asked about the message warning them of an attack by a sect of bloodthirsty demons. Who sent it? Master said he had no idea. Gong asked the master, did he think it was the man who sent her the blade? Hui said, "It's the fellow." The master cried and said that he missed him very much, he wanted to see him again. Gong said she would like to see him too. Gong thought for a moment and told the master to tell her something about Li Guo. Master said he's a great man and natural genius in martial arts. One day, Kavalka, the black storm that attacked the Thousand Swords Academy, returns to the lands of demonic bliss. And of course the Thousand Swords Academy, its leader Woon No Illinois, all survived back then. 10 days had passed since the burning of the Thousand Swords Academy. But no one in all of Sharangssi talked about it. No one even looked towards the academy that was attacked by the bloodthirsty demon sect. Sharangssi will not forget the fear of the Black Storm Cavalcade. And the followers of the Thousand Sword Academy were used to slanted glances. They cheered each other up, saying that the fact that they were alive was already good. Gong told everyone to be strong, they would arrive soon. And then Sa started sniffing and smelled something and ran straight towards the abandoned house. Gong asked Sao, "What's wrong?" Just then, the great follower of the Thousand Sword Academy Shong shouted to his sister upon seeing her. Zheng asked her, "Is she alive?" Gong said as she can see he's perfectly fine too. Zheng bowed to the master and greeted him. The master asked Zheng what happened. What about the rest of the followers? Zheng told master that it was all because of his negligence. Let him kill him. He failed to protect junior master. Zheng brought all the people and stuffed them into coffins. He said that junior master held on to the end and gave them a chance to survive. All traces of the demon disappeared 3 days ago. And they, in turn, went back to look for the bodies. The master said he understood everything. Zheng said that 5 more swords had disappeared. Master said that it's a joke. Not only did he lose his brother but also his favorite swords. There's certainly no time for grief. He's the head of the Thousand Sword Academy. And raising his sword at him, he said that they will revive the academy again. They will not repeat the mistakes of the past. Master said they are at peace now. Shouldn't they take them to Mount Xian? They'll be better off there. 5 followers of the Thousand Swords Academy are ascended to the heavens during an attack by a sect of bloodthirsty demons. All that's left of the academy is 1 old man and 15 young men. The 21st head, Wu No Illinois, swears before him. They send them 5 followers. Ask him to watch over them so that they may find peace. Burning Leaves master thought birth the raising of the sword to the sky, death the traceless disappearance of the sword in the sky. Just then a guy came running in screaming to the foreman. The master asked him what was wrong. The guy said he had to see it urgently. The guy said someone had left treasure in the square. The master asked him what he said. Gong told the master that she had something to think about. She would stay here. Master said for her to rest. Gong thought, if she had more strength, would she be able to protect the junior wizard? Just then, she pulled out a book from her robe. She had read that 6 years ago, Li Guo, an associate of the master, had given them 3 books along with the swords. Crushing mountains with a single sword stroke, crossing a river with a single step, breathing in the mist. With these books he's put his soul into. She could revitalize the Thousand Swords Academy. And then Gong thought about it and she really wondered, what did Master Li really look like? And then she said she'd heard he was in his early 20s when he left the academy. He must be over 70 now. Gong pulls out her sword and says she has a lot of things to ask her. She only lasts 15 seconds in the technique of the sword smashing a mountain of swords. But what should she do next? If Master Li Guo were here. And then she said, what was she thinking? We can't hesitate. The future of the Thousand Swords Academy is in her hands. Now let him show her the thunder. Her academy has special techniques, right? Her technique, she saw a similar one at Thousand Swords Academy, in a sect of bloodthirsty demons. And now Gong realized that Kyung wasn't just asking for a duel with her. And then she pulled out a sword and said he wanted to see the technique of a sword crashing a mountain of swords to begin with. But why would he do that? The bloodthirsty demons have a similar sesh? Bloodthirsty demons attack them, stealing 5 swords. She's sure, but something's not right. And now she must become stronger to protect her academy. But that night, in Sharangssi Han Jin's financial institution, Manager Dong Wa's mansion, Manager Dong Wa said that there was nothing unusual about the graves of the predecessors of the Thousand Sword clan, but 5 more mounds were added. Also, 5 thunder swords were taken. That's what Li said. The manager said that he had also thought of helping the Thousand Swords clan by donating money to them. He didn't reveal his identity, so there shouldn't be any problems. Li thanked him and said he owes him and President Yo a debt of gratitude. The manager said that is not the case. President Yo ordered everything. Li said no, he has met many people, and Don's eyes are honest. He remembered that forever. Don was surprised and saw that the guy is young in appearance, but acts and talks like an old martial arts master about 70 years old. Just then, Li walked up to him and grabbed his shoulder. The manager was startled and asked Li, is something wrong? Lee said that from now on, no matter what he says, there is no need to be afraid. And then the manager with a trembling voice said he understood. Lee started laughing at him and accidentally released his energy. And then Don was surprised, with indescribable feelings. The piece he knew was false, it ate his body and took his family. This piece was like opium, but the piece this gentleman has bestowed upon him has no side effects and feels as pure as the smell of tea. Of course, if it's the words of the Lord, then he will believe and follow them. Lee asked, also he could ask him for one more thing? The manager said sure, let the gentleman keep talking. Lee said he is looking for 3 people. Standing in front of the gate, Kyung said that the Black Storm cavalcade had returned. Let them open the gate. Kyung told the guys that they all did a good job and worked hard. And then the boys thanked the 4th captain. The guy told Kyung to go finish the report. There is a place they both have to visit. Kyung asked to visit the place with him. The boy asked Kyung, isn't he curious? Why did the demon god restore the Black Storm cavalcade? The boy asked Kyung, isn't it wonderful? It happened in one day. A man came in here and turned thousands of posters into a pile of ash with one swing of his blade. Kyung said the guy said he did it all by himself. The guy said that the 12 demon vassals tried to stop him, but the ghost army's sword of demonic fury was destroyed, and the demon god had to meet him himself. After that, he heard that people were trying to find out his battle energy level, but the joke is that even if they put the shards together, it wouldn't resemble the shape of a sword at all. The guy said the edges of the shards melted as if they were struck by lightning. Well, he's on his way out, so good night Kyung. Duke thought that being able to meet such a person, no wonder he was a demon god. Just then a servant came in and told the captain that here was the information he had asked for. Kyung said that he had done a good job, that the sword technique found by the 10th leader of the Shining Horse Avian clan 300 years ago. It was a noble blade technique consisting of 18 techniques. It competed for a place in the top 5 blade techniques, but the next leader of the Shining Avian Horse clan, Heck, could successfully use the Flying Divine Bloody Sword technique, and the current clan leader of the Shining Horse Avian clan was killed in battle. Hekwal is taking over now. And then Jen threw the letter into the fire and got angry. Kyung says he's dreaming too. Hyok Wool. He is going to leave since he is done with Sharangsy. The chief said that since the Murim Association emphasized that this case is not special, the police will not intervene, and then the servants confirmed the general's words. It was the great general of the 1 million soldier empire, Gem Sadu. Gem asked the guys, did they find any sign of him? The guy said no, he's probably hiding. Gem was angry that he hadn't gotten the information and let his servants go. Gem let out one last heavy sigh. Just then, a guy came in and asked why he was sighing like that. All the soldiers in the empire would hear this. Gem asked the guy, what was he doing here? It was the leader of the secret police, the current great general Yeo Bum. Yeo said, talking to Gem like this, it had been a long time since they had helped him with his armor. If the reason why Yeo said Gem came is related to him, he will be glad. Yeo said he got the news. Gem asked, is it true? Yeo said that he had just crossed the human pass and accidentally revealed his identity there to Jen. Gem said he didn't expect this. Any more news? Like whether or not Lee is going back to the Imperial Castle. Yeo says no, but he's sure the situation is dire enough to make him reveal his identity even though he's hiding. Yeo asked Gem, had he heard the news about the battle in Shenst where many Murim martial artists fought? They just had a conference call about whether they should move the military because of this. His clan is the Thousand Swords Academy. This clan name is known for being destroyed by a clan of bloodthirsty demons. If that's the case, then he had more than enough reason to meddle in matters concerning Murim, right? But he's an official politician. Who dares to spoil his mood? Yo asked Gem, did he dumb himself down by becoming a great general? Judging by his character, he would never have stated his position. Gem said yes, that's true. Gem said that they would then hurry up and spread the news to the Thousand Sword clan in Sharangsy. Pereda said that His Majesty is looking for Lord Li Guol. Yo said it's the business of the martial arts masters in the Murim. Guari thinks he would approve of generals like them meddling in Murim affairs. Yeo said they can't put a bounty on a clan of bloodthirsty demons and cut off their heads and hang them on the castle walls. Guam told him to forget it. He will go through the human pass by himself. Yo said there was something else he had to say. Gem said that he was hiding something, didn't he? Yeo said that Lord Li Guol had regained his youth through rejuvenation. At this moment, the sect guards were standing at the gate of the city and one of them was saying that he had been drinking for a long time and the sky was spinning. The guy told him to be quiet. The guard asked the second guard, "Does he remember?" The second guardian asked the second guardian, "What should he remember?" The guard said that that young Grand General was passing through the human pass. The second guard closed his mouth and told him to shut up about it. The guard said he was talking about it because they were the only ones here. Can't he talk with his mouth open? The other said that idiot keeps going on and on. The second probie said the first bastard, was he out of his mind when he got drunk as a pig? The second one got angry and told the first one that then they should fight all night. And the first guard agreed, and then a guy came up and asked the guards what they said his name was. And that's when they got in trouble. The guy didn't feel sorry for them or listen to them, and chopped off their heads without a second thought. And he heard the name of the great General Li Guol. In Shirangsi territory, a group of people gathered in a bar late at night. They went straight to the gambling table. One of the guys started laughing and said that guys are not having any luck today. This time luck is on his side, and then the guy threw down his chips and won. He said it was getting late and he had to leave. The guy reached for his winnings as suddenly, one of the players grabbed his hand. The guy asked him what he was doing. The man started shaking his hand, and then the rest of the chips fell on the table. And the guy starts making excuses. The man put his sword up near his head and said he wasn't surprised. These are dirty tricks. The guy started looking at the other people and saw Li sitting next to them and shouted to him. Li looked at him, turned away. The guy said to him, shouldn't he be helping old people in trouble? Li said he's the one who started it, so now he has to clean it up. Li said he didn't understand why he had to help a lion hunt a rat. And then they were surprised to hear about the animals. The guy said Li wants to say he's a rat and this player is a lion? The guy said Li ruined all their fun. He wanted to play some more, but it seemed like the game was over. The man didn't realize what had happened. And the guy said, here's his reward. The guy said he's heard people talk about cheating after losing many times. It's just a skill. A man attacked him and asked the guy, is he crazy? And then the guy fired a coin at him. And it pierced his chest. The guy walked up to Li and asked, isn't that cruel? A lion? Does he look like a monster? Li told the guy that he recently saw a dragon. To him it was a lion at most. The guy said he was interested. Li said he was drinking tea. The guy laughed and asked, did he say something? Li looked at this guy and thought he was a straight-up funny person. The guy told Li to let him introduce himself. His name is Meng Bak Ja, also known in Murim as the Omniscient One. And straightway he gave his hand to Li. Li said he'd heard Meng was pretty eccentric, but I think more like crazy. Meng said that Li is talking about when he entered the world of gambling. Guys like that like to talk while gambling. Meng said the guy talks like an old man. How old is he? Li quipped and said he was almost 100. Meng was surprised and said about 100. Wait, let the guy not tell him 91. Does he remember the great bloody drought? Does he remember that summer? Meng said it happened 70 years ago. Back then, the sky, rivers, and even wells dried up. People begged for a drop of at least blood. Li said blood rain. If endured hunger by eating kudzu root, he must be even younger than him. Adults that year cleaned the trees and made porridge from the bark. Immediately, Meng was surprised by these words and realized that it was true. How could he look so young? Meng caught up with him and pulled on his clothes, saying that since they were both old, he could talk to him calmly. Li said that he was not old like him yet. Meng said the guy is so stubborn. He can talk to him freely. Li obeyed and said whatever Meng says. Meng asked him, so did he really get younger? Li said yes. Meng asked, is it some kind of special martial art or energy technique? Li said no. Meng asked again, isn't that martial arts training? Li said he never explained that to anyone, not sure how to put it. Li said that reconstructing the body of a martial artist gets a body suitable for martial arts, and then in parting, Li said they would see him later. Li asked him, he had nothing to do, he's a stubborn man known for not sitting still, no need to follow him around. Meng asked Li, is he uncomfortable? Li said he is old now, there are no plans. Meng said he just changed it to follow him. Li asked him why. Meng said he wanted to watch him for the rest of his years. Meng said that he had spoken to the Murim king and met 12 vassals from the bloodthirsty demon clan while he was traveling the world. But his Li, he can't even compare to them. The fox asked the man, how is he different? Meng told Li that he didn't know himself. Reached that level through training? Who else in the world has lived a life like him? Li said that this is the result. Meng said it doesn't matter. He is a man known to be omniscient. If anyone should remember him, it would be him. Li realized that he didn't live to show something to others. He is a senior follower that he treated other disciples as brothers. He yet became a great general only to bring peace to the great Ming. He never hoped that anyone would remember his life, but this is a man, wants to remember him. Meng tells Li that if anyone gets in his way, unbending, he will help him. Li asked him how he knew. Meng said he would tell if Li would let him accompany him. He doesn't just need him because he knows he's indomitable, does he? Li said he thought and reached for his sword. Meng got scared and told the guy to go easy on him. Li said whether he should shut him up by killing him or, Meng said he would tell him, just guessing. Inflexible was long gone, wasn't he? And his sword seemed similar to him, so there you go. Li put his sword back in place and said he was just joking with him. Let him go with him, he is his first friend since rejuvenation. Here they arrived dawn, the graves of the ancestors of the Thousand Swords clan. Meng said he heard about his past last night. Why does he doubt it? How about settling down in Shaanxi, building the foundation of the Thousand Swords Academy? Is it hard to see the fall of your clan? Li said it's hard to say, and then in a moment they stopped, and Meng asked, what's going on? And then they saw Gong, who was practicing. Meng said it's Gong Jong Gum. She's practicing on ancestral graves this early, and then Gong saw the guys and stopped, and they started to interject with looks. Meng thought that Li must be having a hard time right now. Can't even tell her that he's her fellow man. Meng asked, is something wrong? And Li started to approach her, and Meng saw it and told him to be careful. Gong decided that she had to attack Li, and immediately headed towards him. And Li stood still, and didn't move, and then she wondered, why the technique she had performed then, why wouldn't it work from her now? The sword must flow like water. It must not stop. Instead, it should revolve unhindered like a whirlwind. Anyone who has wielded thunder knows that the last stance of the technique of smashing a mountain with a single blow endows the sword with lightning. The first 10 positions are not that difficult to perform, even if they are not connected smoothly, but just performed simultaneously. But further, these positions are gloriously funny: hot oil and water. The ability to perform 2 different movements at the same time determine the level of technique. Even though she's been doing them for 10 years, she's still missing something to take it to the next level. Maybe there was someone here. And then she looked to the side and saw Li and Meng heading toward her. She saw that it was thunder on his belt. He must be one of the ones who stole his pieces. Gong pulled out her sword and said the 13th position technique to smash the mountain with a single strike. A divine strike. The guy stopped and looked in wonder at her. And Gong said that she had finally succeeded, but in the battle, she realized her mistake. She should have asked him how he got the thunder instead of killing him right away. Li used his abilities and immediately started attacking her. Gong didn't understand how he did it. Li told Gong that the body could also be a sword. Gong stood in front of him and prepared to attack. Meng watched all this from the side and saw that the tension was rising. Meng entered the conversation and said that there must have been a misunderstanding. His nephew is not what she thinks he is. Nephew wondered to Gong. Meng looked at Li and winked his eye for confirmation. Li said that his uncle knows the ancestor of the Thousand Sword Academy, Wan Yang. Gong asked, why is his sword similar to her master's sword? Meng said he got it as a gift from an old buddy, gave it to his nephew. She called the sword a thunderbolt. Did he hear right? Gong remembered that the 15 swords were sent to the Thousand Swords Academy by Master Li Guo. Are these people related to him? Li bowed and said that he would like to speak to his uncle privately if she would allow it. Gong also bowed back and said that of course she could. She understood. Immediately, Gong headed towards the academy. Meng said what a pathetic excuse. He said he didn't want to reveal himself to her, and of course, he shouldn't have shown her inflexible. He didn't think so. That girl must think they had something to do with Li Guang, and now Li must be frustrated. Why not leave a speck of hope? Meng asked. Li didn't say anything and headed towards the coffins of his students. He said that this pathetic follower was not capable of defending the academy. Li said that on the way back from Shirangssi, he was thinking. Meng asked him what was he thinking about. Li said to choose a new life or his destroyed academy. He wanted the Thousand Swords Academy to be strong enough to defend themselves. But they ended up losing 5 pieces of thunder, and of course, Bion Illinois wouldn't break promises. The bloodthirsty demon sect must have a scheme like the Imperial Palace, but that's later. Even in the bloodthirsty demon sect, the center of 1 million devil spawns, and the Imperial Palace defended by heaps of soldiers, he realized that they weren't perfect either, just like the academy. One day he would repay them in kind. Li began to raise his power magic to underhand, and angrily gathered all the swords into one coffin and closed it. Minute was surprised, for he saw the control of things in the air. Not just 15 swords? He had never heard of a person of such strength. Li told Meng that now it was time for them to leave. Meng looked at him and asked where should they go next. Li pointed his finger and didn't say a word. Meng said just don't tell him what he wants, so he would carry a whole box of swords. Li asked, does he have to carry it? He's 10 years older than him. Meng said he never thought he would be a porter at 90. Meng yelled for Li to wait. Doesn't he know that old people should be respected? He's heartless. At this time the blacksmith was running after his son and scolding him. He told his son that if he didn't stop, he would kill him. The blacksmith didn't chase after him and threw a hammer at him, which hit right in his son's hand, and he stopped. His son fell into the water and lay there. The blacksmith told him to come out. He asked him if he liked it under the skirts of those ladies. The blacksmith said he would personally fix it, let his son not worry. The son asked his father, does he want to kill him for just sharing the story, and stop saying he has a son? The blacksmith told him to stand still. The son ran and screamed that he wouldn't stop, because then he would kill him, and then the son ran off into the woods and rejoiced that he almost died. His father almost caught him, and immediately he received a blow on the head. The blacksmith's son grabbed his face and didn't understand what had happened. Li smiled and said that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. When they arrived at the smithy, Chul closed the door and put up a sign that it was closed for the day. And they all sat down at the table together. At this moment, Meng was surprised that Chul, known as a legendary blacksmith, was paying his respects. Li told him to hold his head up. Why is he acting so stiff? Dan heck, have him raise his head too. Chul said he was honored and called him a great general. Let him not worry, he and his son have no discomfort. Li laughed and said he brought 15 grams out of the 30 he made. Chul said for Li not to tell him the blades were dull. Li said, who can match his skill in this world? They were buried in the ground for 7 years, but never rusted. Chul asked, were they buried underground? Li smiled and said a lot of things happened. Li smiled and asked the thin, reinforced and lightweight chainmail, was that his work too? Chul said of course, it is a chainmail created by joining lightweight steel from the shoulders to the knees. It became the standard armor in the Great Ming because of its lightness and ability to protect against blades, spears, and even arrows. Li asked, aren't the rings on the chainmail not shaped like this? Immediately, through magic, he bent the object. And Chul said yes. Li said the process of attaching the links to the ring. It's a link, right? Chul asked, using a link? Meng said he didn't understand. Why attach a link to thin and lightweight chainmail? Even forgetting the weight, it's a labor-intensive process. Li said he would rather show than explain in words. Let Meng bare his sword. And then he told Meng to defend himself. Meng drew his sword and repelled Li's attack. At this moment, the blacksmith and his son were watching him intently. The son asked his father, the link flew on its own, didn't it? Meng saw that this level of telekinesis was nothing to him. Li didn't stop there and started attacking Meng all the time and asking him to defend himself. And then Meng opened his eyes and saw that his sword had broken into pieces from Li's attacks. Meng said that even if it was just a test, why break a perfectly good sword? Li said that if he can't even stand up to an iron link, he needs a new one. Good thing the best gunsmith in the world is here now. Li said he realized that there are some people who can't be protected by an unbending sword alone. If he can control 100 or even 1,000 of those links, Will the blacksmith be able to melt down all the swords and make him as many of them as possible, as long as he can? Chul said he needed time to figure out how to attach and detach the links. Lee said that he would wait even if it took 10 years. As long as he would still be alive, Chul said he would do anything. And then Meng entered the conversation and said to Chul, "Can he get a new sword?" People said that there were rumors that the Wong family's blacksmith had stopped taking orders. And it's been 2 months. Chul Wong never left the workshop. Li Guol disappeared. Winter came without him. At this time, Meng was all in the forge, and was winding himself a circle. The blacksmith's son wondered if he should contact the Thousand Swords Academy just in case. Chul told his son that his actions always make sense, dummy. Also, stop going after girls. But fortunately, progress is being made. During forging, after heating the iron to a high temperature, and of course if you align the parts with the poles that the magnetic metal is pointing towards, it can fill the metal with magnetic energy. And of course, it was a request from his lifelong savior, said Chul. And again he labored over the links. Laboring, he said that he would not even be sorry even if he died, working like this until the last. And then the blacksmith made one of the links and stuck it in the water and saw that it worked. And then someone wiped the sweat off his head. Lee told Chul to forgive him for making him worry. And for that evening they gathered around the table and Lee said that now he would begin. Lee said let them reach their heart and control the heat of the 5 organs. Let them discard the unnecessary energy flowing through the bones, and now let them focus their attention on the tea. Lee began pouring tea into the mug in slow streams. Lee said that he thought Chul had succeeded in the art of tea first. Chul thanked Lee for the experience. Meng asked Lee if he passed some energy to him. The fox asked him, was he jealous? Let him try to forge at least one link then. Lee went outside and thought he had gotten information about the academy from the manager of Han Financial Institution over the past year. But other followers of the Thousand Sword Academy have the element of lightning in their swords, but the fact that the lightning has disappeared from Gong Jorn's thunder sword. Lee said she had reached enlightenment. Meng came up behind him and asked him, is he thinking about the academy? Lee said he really is like a ghost. Meng said he heard that they are having a grand opening now. They rebuilt the destroyed buildings and hired new workers. Lee said he was glad to hear that. Lee said there was one place they should visit first. And that is a sect of bloodthirsty demons, the Shining Pegasus clan. At this point the guards were chasing the man and yelling at him to stop, OTOH they would kill him. The man realized that he had to inform the Baiyan clan, no matter how. One of the stolen divine tools of the boy clan, the bone picker, has been found. The head of the guards was telling his soldiers to chase him to the edge of the castle wall, and then the man stood at the edge of the wall and stopped. He looked down and said that it was about 9 meters, but of course if it's desert sand, then jumping is possible. Even if he dies here, the soldiers shouted that the thief was running away. Does he think he can run away from a sect of bloodthirsty demons? And then the head came and said to stop everything, he would go after him alone. And then during the fall, the man opened a potion and decided to drink it. And then the head came up behind him and asked him what he had just done. And the man heard his voice and immediately drew his sword. But it was all useless against the chapter, so the chapter decided to launch an attack before the man killed him. The man collapsed to the ground and killed himself. The chief said it was that bastard. And he ordered the soldiers to take care of the corpse. And the guard said he obeyed Lord Zhou Wong. Zhou came to see the emperor late at night. The emperor asked that the Buyok clan had sent another spy. Zhou got down on his knee and apologized. The man standing across from him was the current leader of the Shining Pegasus clan. He ordered Zhou to stand up. It wasn't his fault, weeds aren't easy to pull. The leader asked Zhou, does he understand what this means? Zhou said that the swords had cost the life of their predecessor. The leader said it cost him his life. That answer can't be called wrong. Bone Picker thunders. This thunder is an interesting sword, same goes for the Bone Collector, but he knows. They have that in common. Does he know how? Zhou said this is the title of the divine swords. The leader said right. The reason they are called that, the swords were forged from pieces of meteorite that fell from the sky. They're not of this world. The dark soul of the demon god, the infinity leader of the Murim Association, the Bone Collector who is here, and the inflexible covered one in the distance. The leader said that suddenly parts of thunder appeared. 15 swords, all made of meteorite. The leader asked, "Isn't that strange? How is that possible?" Joe said he had no idea. The leader started laughing and said he was dying to know. The leader said they were done for the day. "How is Dumar?" he asked. Joe said he was barely breathing. The leader said they should let him live, they might need him. The leader leaving, Joe said he had one more thing to say. Joe stopped and asked, "His orders?" The leader told Joe to spread the rumors in the Buyok clan. Have him spread the word that the Academy thunders 1,000 swords made of meteoric iron. He doesn't know how, but the 4 divine weapons aren't unique. Joe said to put the 1,000 Swords Academy at a disadvantage. The leader said exactly that. They, destroyed by the cavalcade of the Black Storm. Recently rebuilt some decent-looking buildings, must have paid quite a lot of money for them. Let Joe make it look as if the cavalcade had suddenly returned, and that it was because of the Dark God. Joe said, should he state that the bloodthirsty demon sect was secretly helping the 1,000 Swords Academy? The leader said that the truth didn't matter, these bastards would only believe what they wanted to believe, and with that opportunity he would target the Infinity Murim. Joe bowed and told the leader that he would try to create the right conditions for this. The leader knew that Infinity was waking him up. But what should he do with a dark soul? Lee and his team made it to Yingmen Mountain. Meng said the bamboo tiger sword, Sab is already 72 this year. Lee said he is 10 years younger than Meng. Meng said he lasted 100 seconds against Bion or Guan. He must be stronger than people think of him? Lee asked how others describe him. Meng said, as good as he's. And then Lee started laughing loudly at Meng's words. Bion thought they were asking if there were other swordsmen of his level in the area. Then he would ask them the same thing. Are there other swordsmen of their level in this world? Only 3 people come to mind. The man Lee met in the forest at Yunnan Peak lasted 100 seconds against him. Meng asked Lee what he would do. If he met a tiger bamboo sword? Would he spar with it? Lee said whether it will be sparring, conversation or just a tea party, he doesn't know of course. Meng asked Lee, isn't the chainmail made by Chulwong heavy? Doesn't it weigh at least 25 kilograms? Lee said no, it's fine, and then the guy in the back said to Lee maybe they could have a short pass. Meng told him she weighs the same, let him act his age. When they arrived at the place they were all surprised and the guy said that he thought this was the place where Sabking had secluded himself. It was more like confinement than seclusion. Guy asked how he got to the other side, and at that moment a girl came out of the house, and seeing the guy she was surprised and could not understand who they were, but she didn't realize she was at the edge and fell into the abyss. Lee didn't stand still and rushed after her to save her. Lee jumped down and used his magic to grab the girl, but that's when he released his grab ropes. The guy stood at the top and marveled. Lee was able to save the girl and cushion her fall. The girl looked at Lee and recognized him, but in a moment she looked at Lee and passed out, startled. Lee looked at her and couldn't understand what had happened. Lee took her in his arms and pulled her out of the abyss. And with her, he started walking toward the boys. Lee said that they would wait for this child to wake up first. But Meng was not happy about those words. The guys made a pass and lit a fire. The lad made them tea and gave it to the girl, for it was very cold here on the mountain. The girl thanked the guy and started drinking tea. The guys looked at her and marveled that she even drinks tea perfectly. Lee asked her, tiger bamboo sword sick? The girl said that it happened about 5 years ago. A man with a black sword visited her father. Meng immediately realized that it was the owner of the Dark Soul, Bion Illinois Guan. The girl said that first they argued. Then they talked about many sword techniques, and afterward they fought, chanting leg movements and stances. Even just listening to it was unbearable. Father lasted 100 seconds against the leader of the bloodthirsty demon sect. Meng said she is also in a serious condition. What happened? The girl said his heart carries eternal sadness because of the blood flowing through her veins. Meng said that her mother must be from the Juge clan. The girl was surprised and asked how did he know? Meng said he forgot to introduce himself. He is known as the man who knows everything in Murim. The girl said he's a famous Murim scholar. She's happy to meet you, Mr. Manbak. Her name is Juge Rio. Juge said that after her father got sick because of the battle, she tried to convince him to take medicine, he refused, and now she can't live alone after seeing him off, and then she cried in front of everyone. The guy cried with her too and said how could this happen to her? He asked Lee if there was any way out. Lee said he would meet the tiger bamboo sword himself. Stepping inside the house, Stucky thanked for saving his daughter. Lee said there was no problem with that, and then tiger bamboo sword Sab started coughing and couldn't stop. For he was very sick. Lee asked him what his plans were for his daughter. Immediately, Juge couldn't help but cry. Sab said he secluded himself in these mountains because of his pride as a martial arts master. It only made the disease worse. It also worsened her daughter's condition. He had nothing more to say. He asked Lee, did he ever fall in love? Lee looked at him proudly and said, no, there was no such thing. Sab said that he loved Rio's mother very much. She was the purpose of his life, but the clan leader did not approve of their love. He was a simple swordsman with a bamboo sword, and so he decided to become a martial artist so that he would recognize him. And she was waiting for him. She even endured divine punishment from a disease caused by yin energy. For 20 years, Sab said they loved each other infinitely more. And so she died, leaving Rio as her legacy. The memories of their love gave her strength to go on living. He was happy to watch Rio growing up, thinking of her mother. But one rainy day he got mad because he wanted to see her so badly, but she was already gone, right? He felt himself losing his mind. He was swallowed up by the darkness of the sword he raised again. Lee said that if he asked, Lee would use all his strength to help him. Sab said that he would leave this world soon. What right does he have to burden him? He only has one small wish. And he told Rio to find a man who would make her happy. Leaving the old man, they headed for the entrance to Mount Iai. Lee asked her, is she sure? Is she sure she won't return to the Juge clan? Rio said that she didn't want to be a burden. She will rely on Mount Iai and find a way to cure her illness. Lee said there was something that could help her. Doesn't she want to learn martial arts? Rio said no. She has a legacy left by her father. She would train in the tiger bamboo sword technique she had already learned, and then Rio bowed and told the guys that she was on her way out. Lee told her that they would meet again if they were meant to. Rio said goodbye, that she wouldn't forget them until the day she died. At that moment, the boy started crying as he saw her leave. Meng said they should go. They need to see the grand opening of the Thousand Swords Academy, inside the castle of the Murim Association, Murim Castle. The Lord arrived, and the guards apologized to him for the long wait and told him he could enter. The future head of the Buyok clan, Huang Du, thought that after sweating the bone collector because of a thief named Du Ma who belonged to a sect of bloodthirsty demons, their prestige and reputation as a clan in the Murima unification had fallen greatly. He will surely bring the bone picker back. And then he walked into the office and the guy apologized for keeping him waiting. He was overworked. This guy was the future head of the Murim clan, Muring Chen. Buyok said it was his fault for coming so late. Muring asked him what was going on. Buyok pulled a large document out of his sinus and told Muring to look at it. Muring took it and read it and said that the thunderbolts of the Thousand Swords Academy are made of meteoric metal. Muring said that meteoric metal was only found in 4 divine tools. Is it possible they melted down a stolen bone collector? Muring read the whole thing and decided to get rid of that paper, and burned it over a candle that was burning in front of him. Muring asked, is this a secret message? Buyok said that this morning a masked man asked a servant to betray him. Muring said it's not explicitly said. The message is obviously trying to undermine the prestige of the Thousand Swords Academy, isn't it? Muring said it's better to get rid of conflicts. It would be a problem if the academy was overrun by a sect of bloodthirsty demons, right? Buyok said he was right. They still had 4 days until the grand opening of the Thousand Swords Academy. Muring said that time is short. Buyok said that the bloodthirsty demon sect can make a mess in Shirangssi by using the academy's grand opening. Muring said, wouldn't it be fun if they visited them as representatives of the Murima Association? Buyok thanked him for deciding to come this far. Muring said he wanted permission from the Senate and was secretly using annihilators. Buyok asked him, even annihilators? Muring said, all for the prosperity of the world in Murim. And now we must make preparations. The next day, at the entrance to the Murima Association, Muring and his team headed there. Buyok told him that all the annihilators had gathered. Muring told the girl that he had heard that they had put in a request to accompany them. The upcoming head of the House Beautiful Mothers, Black Snowflake, Un Seo, said to Muring, why is he asking if he already knows about it? Buyok said he was the upcoming leader of the Murim clan. She needs to think about her manners at least a little. Murim said it was okay. Murim said he heard that Unseo is so beautiful that she can turn an entire nation upside down. He is very grateful to them. Unseo said she's only interested in the academy. She doesn't care about men. Buyok said that all attractive women have bad characters. Let Murim forget about her. Murim wondered when he'd get the chance. Things are getting interesting. After 8 long years, he would finally see her again. Sword Gong Ji on Thunder. In Shirangssi City, on the 2nd floor in the Ankang Bar, the man thought he could return to the sect after the grand opening. This man was a steel-blooded man, and his name was Mu Yong. He thought that after gathering all the information from various sources, Li Guol was a follower of the Thousand Swords Academy, then joined the military. Good at both martial arts and education, he also received nobility from the emperor. Then suddenly retired. His whereabouts are unknown. After 6 years of disappearance, he suddenly reappeared at Yumen Pass. Mu Yong said quite a bit of information, but his whereabouts are still unknown, and then he saw the guy in front of him and thought he looked about 30, in the prime of his life. What a miserable life. Li Guol was an old man with white hair, but it suddenly turned black. Has he achieved rejuvenation? Mu thought. Mu said that everything would be clear tomorrow. This guy was a member of the Imperial Secret Police, and his name was Dap Woon. It's been a year since he infiltrated Shirangssi, hiding his identity on orders from the Imperial Palace. His mission has only one goal: find out the location of the head of national security, Lord Li Guol. Dap knew that the grand opening of the Thousand Swords Academy was happening at the perfect time. He thinks the Lord will show up. He can't even sleep, he's been sitting here for 3 days. Dap wondered where this great general was. And then Meng asked Li, is something wrong? Li said he felt as if someone was looking for him. It was an Ankang bar in Shirangssi, on the 1st floor. Meng said that he couldn't understand how the Thousand Swords Academy was able to rebuild so quickly. Did they have anything left in the treasury? Li said there was someone who helped them. Meng turned around and said, where the hell is this Dan Hyok? And at that moment, Li abruptly stood up and stared intently to the side. Meng also stood up and asked, what's wrong? Li said that he sensed a follower of the bloodthirsty demon sect. He'll take care of it. Li went up to the 2nd floor and poked Mu Yong on the head. Immediately opening his eyes, he waited for him for 3 days in a row and then in a squeak. Li shoved him into the sand and looked at him asking, is he from the bloodthirsty demon sect? Mu was surprised and thought that his steel blood of the bloodthirsty demon sect had been stolen. He became very relaxed. Li put his sword in front of his face and said his sect. But then Mu told him to stop, and then he lowered his head and dared to tell Li to just kill him. Li said that's the voice he remembers. He's one of Beyond Illinois Guan's shadows, right? Immediately, he put his sword away. Mu asked him, the head of national security. Li said he was able to track him down. But did he have time to report it? Li said he didn't want anyone to know his location. Can he promise him to keep it a secret? Mu said he was the shadow of the dark god. And he won't begrudgingly beg for mercy. Li said he would be happy to die for him, and pulled out his thunder sword. Mu said that he realizes that Li is on the same level as the dark god, but he's second to him. Li thinks he'll give up so easily. Mu pulled out his blade and immediately started attacking Li. Li vaporized before his eyes in a moment, and immediately grabbed his blade with his fingers. Mu was surprised and couldn't believe that the dark god had really lost to this man. Immediately, Li broke off his blade. Li didn't bother with him for long, and released a chunk of his E-link right down Mu's throat. Mu fell to the ground, and out of shame he did not want to die a long death and told Li to kill him. Li made up his mind and fulfilled his wish. Late at night, Gong sat in her room reading a book, but in her head she thought that finally tomorrow, the Thousand Swords Academy would be reborn. But then she remembered Li saying in their battle that a hand could also become a sword. She said the man with the thunderbolt she met a year ago. Will she be able to meet him again? Will they see each other at the grand opening tomorrow? The next morning, all the people were heading to the Thousand Swords Academy. The guy stood at the pub and had breakfast. While the guy snored away, Meng said it was a relief to him. He was worried there wouldn't be enough people. Meng said that the people from the Murim Association were also here. And then the boy woke up and asked where they were. Meng said to the guy over there, does he see 3 horses? The guy asked, a company of 2 men and a woman? Meng said correctly. They are all among the 100 people leading the Murim Association. The snot in the middle is Murin Chen. The next one is from the Buyok clan, and the lady behind her in general, he doesn't know who she is. Li asked, is this a visit from the best people of the Murim? They're probably just here to get some fresh air and admire the beauty of Gongjian. It's a ceremony, that's what Li said. Doesn't 100 Murim have bodyguards? Mu said he could only see 3. Meng said they are on a small hill to the north. There are about 50 of them. Li asked him, how did he figure it out? He can't even see them. Li said they would look at their actions first to see the reason for their presence. The leader of the Thousand Swords Academy said his name was One. They repaired the ceilings and walls, and then the academy itself. He had prepared a little meeting for them. He would be glad to hear a few words from the representatives of the Murim. One said for everyone to meet some of the top 100 people of the Murim. The head of the Murim clan said he was glad to meet them and introduced himself. Muring said there are 3 reasons why he attended the opening ceremony of the Thousand Swords Academy. The first, to support the people who did not bend under the atrocities of the bloodthirsty demon sect. The second reason is to see Gongjian, with whom he shared the winner's honor at the Murim competition 8 years ago. And the third said Muring saw a little commotion and ordered his men to surround the sects of the Thousand Swords. People were asking what it was. Didn't the Murim Association come to congratulate them? Here's a prop vino. Not every clan in Murim is part of the association. How dare they spoil the banquet? Muring apologized for this behavior of his, but information came in that made them nervous. Muring told the academy leader, Woon, to explain 2 things. One asked surprised at him, which ones? Muring asked him if he could show them the thunder. The guy said why do they have to do that? Shouldn't they have to give a good reason to see someone else's sword? One said to Feng to calm down. Then One drew his sword and raised it before them all. Muring asked him if Lord One knew him. This sword contains a special metal, meteoric metal. Woon said this is the first time he's heard, it's just a gift from one person. Muring said he appreciated his honest answer, and then Muring said he would now tell them about his little excitement. He said that he had heard that there were no more weapons forged from meteoric metal besides the 4 divine weapons. But recently, one such divine tool went missing, didn't it? And then Feng told his sister that it was a conspiracy. Muring said, why should this unite Murim? Let him speak. When did the Thousand Swords Academy get thunder? Muring got angry and said, was it before or after the bone picker disappeared? Muring said to One to answer the question. When were the swords of Hollow Thunder given to the Thousand Sword clan? One thought to himself, this isn't bad, their suspicions don't make any sense, but they can't disprove them. Master Li gave them Hollow Thunder swords, it was after the Bone Collector disappeared, One said. People started saying that the Thousand Sword clan had stolen the Bone Gatherer and created the Hollow Thunder swords from it. But wasn't it stolen by the Blood Heaven Demon clan? But what was the relationship between the Thousand Sword clan and the Blood Heaven Demon sect? Feng told his sister that at this rate, they would be accused of stealing the Bone Collector. Immediately he took up his sword. Gong stopped him and said there must be another way out. Gong looked at Murin and wondered what the reason was. Was it revenge for her rejecting his feelings? Gong said looking back, when was the Bone Collector stolen in the first place? In what time frame did their clan obtain the Thunder Swords and mountain-destroying techniques? It was quite a long time ago, but she still remembered clearly. The day the Swords of Hollow Thunder arrived at their clan, the Buyok clan was still chasing after the Bone Collector's kidnapper. Gong asked if they would give them a chance to answer their question. Muring said for her to be bold. Gong said that she had heard that even a single sword takes more than 1 day to forge. Is there anyone here who knows how long this process actually takes? The man said it takes at least 3 or 4 days. Gong said, that's exactly what she heard. It follows that it would take more than a month to cow 15 swords of Hollow Thunder. From what she remembers, the difference between the theft of the Bone Collector and the appearance of their Hollow Thunder swords is only 10 days. Young warrior Buyok Hwandu, could he please confirm the dates? She asked. Gong said that since young warrior Murin had also said that it bothered him, then the Thousand Swords clan would not file any complaints about it. Buyok said that there was no need to confirm the exact dates, since it was the omission of their Buyok clan that they had allowed the theft of divine weapons. However, he must ask her one more thing. It's about that incident when the Blood Heaven demon Set burned down the Thousand Swords clan. Can the Thousand Swords clan reveal the amount of money it took to rebuild the clan? At least roughly. And then the guy said he had data from a simple investigation on rebuilding the clan and building decent-looking buildings. The Thousand Sword clan needed at least 1,000 gold pieces. Buyok asked where and how could the Thousand Sword clan get that kind of money. One knew that the Hollow Thunder swords and the cauldron had been left to them by Master Li Guo, but there was no way to prove it. Buyok said that the message he received from the Murim Alliance said that their recovery was funded by the Blood Heaven demon sect. Gong said, "That's just ridiculous." One asked, "What reason would the Blood Heaven demon sect have to support the Thousand Swords clan?" Buyok said that instead of destroying the Thousand Swords clan, they chose to create a branch of the Blood Heaven demon sect right in the middle of the Murima Union territory. Wasn't that right? Feng pulled out his sword and said that they would not tolerate such insults and humiliation. If he had to, he would cut off his stomach to prove that they were not affiliated with the Blood Heaven clan. Murim said that if they bare their blades, it will confirm that they are part of the demonic sect. Lay down your weapons and let the Murim Alliance take them into custody. People asked. What they wanted to say was that they all came here to congratulate the demonic sect. They believed that the Thousand Sword sect was diligently rebuilding the clan, but they would never think that it was with blood money. The guy told them to hurry up and lay down their weapons. They don't intend to give them any more time to decide. Murim said to Gong to put down the Hollow Thunder. Perhaps they could still prove their innocence to the Alliance. Gong realized that if they were all captured now, they would all be killed. She told everyone that she was going to fight. They must survive to prove their innocence. Feng said they will open a path for her, let her just run away and don't look back. Woon said she's the only one who can avenge them. Gong said she can't do that, they will fight together and to the end. And then Murim told the guards to tie them all up. The guards obeyed him and immediately pointed their guns at the boys. Murim said not to underestimate the demon slayers. They'd been fighting the Black Storm cavalcade for 100 years. Murim looked at Buyok and told them to take them all away. And then the people shouted that something was coming towards them. It was Li. He had descended right into the center of the Thousand Sword sect, and with his bright lightning, he frightened them all. The guy shouted that it was a blood demon. Everyone stared at him intently, unable to say a word. Woon was on his knees, and as Li approached him he asked him, "Who is he?" Li looked at him and said, "No Illinois," and then he remembered, "No Ilya," and how he had shouted to his older brother. Even after many decades, he would never forget his brother's strong voice and broad back. One wondered why this man was so careless in calling him by his name. No, it was only an empty hope. There was no way that this young man was his older brother co-student. Woon asked him why she called him that. Li saw that the Thousand Swords clan was in grave danger. Not only demon slayers are here, but also many different Murim clans are watching. And then Murim looked at Li and saw that he was well, seemingly even at Master level. Murim realized that it didn't change anything. They had 50 demon slayers who together could crush even the clan leader. Murim said to Vice Captain of the Demon Killers Chang, "Why is he inactive?" Chan said that since it was unclear whether the person was a Blood Heaven follower, Demon Killers would not make rash moves. Murim realized that Chan was a man known for not making mistakes made hastily. Li released his energy and said that he would prove that they were not from the Blood Heaven demon clan. Everyone stood in their seats and looked at Li. Chang asked him how he was going to prove it. Li said he was from the Thousand Sword clan. Murim started shouting that it didn't prove anything. One couldn't help himself and fell to his knees in front of Li. He asked him, "Is he really Big Brother?" Feng asked him, "Is he really Master Li Guo?" And then Gong heard this and cried with happiness. Murim said to keep everyone quiet. The clan leader must report the source of the funds. He told them to confirm the identity of the person claiming to be a disciple of the Thousand Swords clan. Murim said that if nothing is cleared up, the demon slayers will not remove their shackles. Murim thought that even if the Sword clan could prove their innocence, they wouldn't have to take responsibility. Li asked Murray, "Is he trying to absolve himself of all responsibility? He is quite young and brash. Is it because he is backed by the Murim Alliance?" And then Murim got more angry. And the girl said, "It's been a long time, sir." The girl said that at that time she did not know who was the owner of the Muju tea house. She disrespected Da Song's disciple. People said that if he was Da Song's disciple, there was no way he could be from the Blood Heaven demon sect. Murim said, "Well, The future head of the Fair Mother's house confirmed his identity, but the clan leader still hadn't revealed the source of the funds to them. Lee stopped him and said, "Stop ranting." And then he stooped down to Woon and told No Illinois that he would help. Lee said, "Their big brother came to bail them out." Woon said with tears in his eyes, "Big brother." Lee said 19 chief disciple Lee Guol appeared before them, his dear ancestors. Did people ask the 19th? Doesn't that mean he was 150 years ago? The guy said that he once heard that during the Thousand Sword Clan's heyday, they had a martial arts genius. Murim said for everyone to be quiet. The Thousand Swords clan can't prove where they got such huge funds from, so let them drop their weapons and surrender. Murim said, "How dare a third-rate clan from Shangxi challenge the Murim clan?" Immediately, he slipped his hand into his pocket. Chan was surprised and said, "What is this?" And then Murim said that in the name of the Murim clan, he commands, "Demon Slayers, subdue the Thousand Swords clan." In Murim's hands was an identification badge. It grants the wearer all powers within the territory of the Murim Union. Chan said as he accepted the order. Lee said, "To all stand back, no one should even step one step into the Thousand Sword clan." One told his men that they would protect the place where their ancestors rested. Feng also confirmed his words. Lee said that he just had to accept it. If it was for the sake of his clan, it would be a pleasure to act even under such circumstances. Lee decided that he would act with magic. He suddenly grabbed the sword of the enemy. And he was frightened by it. Lee took the sword in his hands and said with indescribable force for all of them to step back. One looked at him and was surprised himself. From his older brother, Chan and his men were at the ready. Lee said that if anyone came up, he would show them the power of 1,000 swords. At this moment, Chan was thinking how Lee could stand face to face with the Annihilators and not move an inch. He is the kind of person whose strength cannot be estimated. Lee told the guy that he had a good sword. Chan said it was obvious, especially when you look at his. Lee said he shouldn't judge a book by its cover. Chang said he could say the same thing. Lee laughed and told them to attack. He would show them the power of 1,000 swords. Chan shouted to the squad to get ready and maintain the annihilation formation. Lee didn't attack, but his strength reflected so strongly that in a moment, a strong wind came out of nowhere. Chan wasn't afraid and told everyone to start attacking. Everyone at that moment was afraid that Lee would lose. But the light of his strength could be seen through the enemies. With strong beams of energy, Lee reflected them all and scattered them in different directions. No one could resist him, and even Chan was thrown aside from such a strong attack. Murim and his men couldn't believe it, and stood back, watching the others fight. Gong saw Lee and said, "That is the 1,000 Sword clan's first stand of sword strikes, piercing the heavens." And then Gong saw holes start to appear on the sword in a second. She knew that the 18 holes in the hollow thunder were crushing mountains with a single blow. Lee said the authentic sword-wielding technique of the 1,000 Sword clan. This technique is called the sword strike. Piercing the sky, Chan said that he recognizes that Lee is strong. But the destroyers may disappear, but they will never lose. He said they would have to kill all the members of the united clans of the Murim Union, and afterward, they will face hundreds of thousands of people from the martial arts world who will want revenge on them. Lee said that however, if the 1,000 Sword clan and him turn out to be innocent, then the death of everyone here would be in vain, right? Lee said that the 1,000 Swords clan had already known the grief of loss, and he would not let anyone else in the clan die in vain. They had already lost many followers and elders in the Battle of Chunyang. Chan said that he understood everything, but the orders of the Murim Union are absolute. Even if that order does not carry virtue or nobility, Lee said they both have their own circumstances. Lee asked Murim, did he think so too? Murim said yes. It wouldn't have come to this if the 1,000 Swords clan didn't keep silent when asked questions. Lee said that after this statement, there is no need to discuss anything further. And Lee drew his sword and said with a fierce strike that today, the 1,000 Sword clan would be reborn. Chan told his men to line up in formation and be ready to replace the vanguard if those fell. Lee stood in the middle and looked at them all, and saw only fear in their eyes. And after thinking about it, he decided that first he needed to reduce the number of spectators. And immediately he used the art of spreading the 5 elements. And in a moment he raised walls from the earth, and fenced in all the people. Chan attacked him and asked him what he was trying to do. Lee pulled out his thunder sword and started fighting them. Gong knew that a sword strike that warped space Was there a counter capable of such power? Lee used the mountain-crushing technique of one punch, second counter, and immediately knocked everyone off their feet, and Lee decided that it couldn't stop there and attacked with a heaven-splitting sword strike. Chung said he had lived all these years as an annihilator, the pride of the Murim Union. His chest, which had boiled with excitement when he first entered the Murim, had long since cooled. He must not be the same anymore. Chung was weak and kneeling down said an illusion that cleaves space with a single blow. How could it be? He does not see a single person still standing. He was well aware of the presence and power of all 50 annihilators. This all-consuming power reminds him of the first time he met the leader of the Alliance, right down to the goosebumps on his back. Through the agony of breathing, Chun thought, why is this pressure so refreshing? It couldn't be that this person was from the Blood Heaven Demon clan. He is a great warrior and a respected martial artist. Lee asked him, giving them a refill. Chun said that in the opportunity, he would like to challenge him in an open place, not a place like this. Chun told the vice captain that the exterminators were returning to base. And then everyone looked at him surprised. They all left without saying anything. And Lee said that now maybe they would go on with their grand discovery. Woon and his team bowed to Lee and said they would do it. Gung said they can't send those two back like that. Lee asked her to suggest. Gong said that they are part of 100 Murim members. Lee asked them if they would trust him with the job. One told his older brother that they had already gotten too much help from him. How could they ask for more? Lee told them not to worry about anything else and let them continue with the event. Lee raised both of his hands into it and arranged a whirling wind, and then the guards of the Thousand Sword sect were surprised. People have been asking what happened? What happened to the exterminators? And where did Murin Chen and Buyok Hwandu go? One walked up to the people and said that he apologized for disturbing them. They were going to proceed with the grand opening of their clan. On the flight, the guy said that he had finally found him. Master Li Guol. His pride as the fastest in the Imperial Secret Police is crushed. The distance between them never shrinks, but that makes it that much more outstanding. But he wouldn't give up, and used a smooth shining cloud-like step. In his wake he shouted at Lee to stop. Let him stop, just for a few words. Lee said that if they were destined to meet again, they would surely meet again, and now let him keep it. The guy yelled that he couldn't come back if he didn't complete the mission and asks him to stop for a second. Lee stopped on the mountain and tossed the others aside. The guy asked him, is he Master Li Guol? The guy said his name is Dap One. He reports to the great General Yeo Bum Siku. Lee said that he had heard of No, the only soldier who had successfully mastered the art of cloud stepping. What business does he have with him? Dap took out a letter and said that great General Yeo Bum told him to give this to him, Master Li Guol. Yeo said in the letter that it was an order. He would like to see Li Guol one more time. Let him find him even if he had to turn the whole world inside out. Lee said he could go back and tell him that he would visit him soon. Dap said he would fulfill everything. Dap said he even liked that he had just met Master Li Guol. And then Dap pulled out his cape and said that the life of a vagrant in Sharangssi was quite fun. Toward evening, Mureng opened his eyes and did not realize where he was. He saw his partner lying next to him. Lee asked Mureng, has he come to his senses? Lee said he would ask him questions, and he better give him the right answers. 8 years ago, at a competition in the Murim Union, the girl said that Mr. Chen looked as stunning today as he always did. Murin Chen, at 21, thought he had to face it every year. Bayark said that as expected, the young master of the Murom clan is popular with the ladies. Murin said it was so onerous he didn't even want to hear it. And then Bayark apologized. Buyok said that even if you take all that Murim Union members, only 5 great clans are special. If the Buyok clan didn't have a bone collector, they probably wouldn't have been able to maintain such a friendly relationship as they did now. Mureng said not to say that. He's been his friend since childhood after all. Buyok said he was grateful for such words. Mureng said he would not want to burden himself with thoughts of his clan's power and might. He is different from those who approach him only because of his status. I wish he could meet a woman who would understand his true nature. At this moment, a sword fell in the ring and the referee said that Shahar from the Thousand Swords clan was the winner. That was the day Mureng looked at her and froze with surprise. That was the day he fell in love with her. Bayark said the Thousand Swords clan and laughed. Isn't it strange that such a talented person comes from a third-rate clan in Sharangssi? Unlike the ladies of the other clans, she has no interest in anything unless it is related to martial arts. Shahar was the first one on that beautiful day who made his heart beat more and more frequently. Lee asked him when and from what source did they get the information. And then Murim looked at him and realized he didn't want to tell him anything. Murim repeated to himself to keep calm, there must be a way to overcome this. Murim said he didn't know the source, but he received the information 10 days ago. Hollow Thunder Swords appeared in the Thousand Swords clan right after the Buyok clan's bone collector disappeared. With what money was the Thousand Swords clan able to rebuild? It's very suspicious, the letter said. Murim said that he had assumed that the Sharangssi Thousand Sword clan would not be able to resist the forces of the Blood Heaven Demon sect. Wouldn't it be a disaster for the Murim alliance if the Thousand Swords clan became an auxiliary base for the Blood Heaven Demon sect? Lee asked, so they were trying to stop the grand opening to find out the truth. Murim said yes. If their clan was moved to the Murim alliance, they would only be temporarily restricted, but that would be a small price to pay for the opportunity to destroy the demonic sect's plot, right? Murim said that he never intended to harm anyone from the Thousand Sword clan. It was all just for the sake of the Thousand Sword clan and the Murim alliance. Lee walked next to Murim and approached the other, pressing his fingers along his carotid artery. Buyok woke up. Buyok, seeing Lee in front of him, was frightened and begged him to spare him. Lee said to tell him the exact time when the Murim alliance received the information about the Thousand Swords clan, and let him not be deceived. And then Buyok shot a glance at Murim and saw the look in his eyes. But he said it was 4 days ago. Lee got angry and immediately grabbed Murim by the throat for trying to trick him. Lee lifted him into the air and pinned him to the ground with a punch. Lee started to squeeze him slowly and Murim told him to just kill him. Murim said he has spent the last 8 years trying to forget that she rejected his feelings for her. But each time, the past continued to pound into him, into his heart, as if it were only yesterday. There was no way to heal his heart, so he tried one more time to see her any way he could. But now Murim said that everything was so messed up that there was no turning back. And then Lee remembered the old man asking him, had he ever fallen in love? Lee let go of his throat and stepped back while Murim tried to regain his breath. Lee said that a person shouldn't talk about death so carelessly. Murim asked him who the hell is he? Lee said that we should first solve the problem so that the Thousand Sword clan would not be harmed. Immediately, Lee vaporized in front of them. Murim thought about his words to solve the problem. And taking Buyok on his back, dragged him home. Murim was devastated and very angry. He told Buyoku that they would return to the Murim alliance together. That night, Woon stood at the threshold of the door and waited for Lee to come back. Then Lee appeared on the doorstep and said that he had returned. Woon said to let them pass and he was sorry to have to bother him. Lee told him not to worry. How did the grand opening go? Woon said it went well, only because of him. Woon told Mr. Omniscient, as well as Mr. Chulwon's son, he asks them to stay as long as they wish. The blacksmith's son told Mr. Won to speak to him in a manner convenient to him. Lee said he doesn't see the rest of the students. One said that the clan has to catch up, and he must give him his father's last words. One said they should follow him and their guests would be escorted by the disciples. The blacksmith's son asked Meng, did he happen to know where Shahar's dwelling was? Immediately, Meng couldn't help himself and punched him. Woon said that after the Battle of Chung, he found this when he was cleaning his father's bathroom. Lee asked, is it a diary? Woon said that after he left, he resented his father for a very long time. Woon cried and said that it was indeed. Lee opened it and said it was a diary left by Master. The Master wrote to Gwol to forgive him. He had lied to him that day. As a man who cannot tolerate lies, it was difficult. The teacher was the 19th leader of the Thousand Swords clan, Won Yang. Because of the fact that he had to let him go in order to protect the clan, he was obligated to write it down. Because he's afraid, there's no more time to tell him in person. Gwol, the first leader of their clan, the mountain-crushing sword, Sangdae, was a demon. Lee was surprised to hear that the first leader of the Sangdae Thousand Sword clan was a demon. Demon was the term used for Chan Ma, who was known in Murim as the god of battle. Chong Ma was a lone martial artist who had reached the heavens. The leader of the Blood Heaven Demon sect, Bion or Gwon, is called the demon god, but compared to Jong Ma, he is nothing. Chong Ma called himself a heavenly demon, and no one could oppose him. Master said that since Gwol was a martial arts genius, He had successfully mastered the true technique of destroying Gore with a single sword. That's why he had to let him go. To protect him from those who claimed their first leader was a celestial demon. After all, even now, they treat them with suspicion. The day they realize that the roots of the Thousand Sword clan originated from Chong, they will immediately begin to regard them as prey. Their eyes reach to the sky, and there is nothing their ears cannot hear. Their hands are everywhere, so don't bring back the Thousand Swords clan so that it can live, and so that their clan's legacy can continue. Famous clans educate their students for the glory of tomorrow. And he teaches his students to survive in today's. He, himself, lives a miserable existence today. He does not live as befits his master. May Gvol forgive him. The master said he was very sorry, no Illinois. May he forgive his incompetent master and their father. Lee told the master that even after visiting the ancestral graveyard, he still had a bit of doubt about the master, but the master fought on until the day he closed his eyes. To his foolish apprentice of the Thousand Sword clan, Woon said that he also had a grudge against his father. Lee told Batu Woon. Woon said he was listening to him. Lee said they should do it. Woon asked him, do what? Lee said that instead of living today, let's live looking toward tomorrow. Woon said to his older brother, thinking he was counting on him anyway. Looking at the moon, they walked down the path of memories. The moments they had spent with the master, though brief, were happy ones. It had been 5 days since Lee Guol had appeared at the grand opening of the Thousand Sword clan. Clan leader Woon no Illinois paid attention to all the rumors circulating in the Murim. Despite the fact that 50 Murim Union annihilators rushed into the opening, and Murin and Buyok Huang of the 100 Murim members disappeared, and Murong Chen and Bayuk Huang of the 100 members of Murim disappeared. The world was quiet as if nothing had happened. Woon thought that it was not worth filling his mind with unnecessary worries. Since they would have to live for tomorrow, Gong asked the girl, is she going back to the Murima Alliance? The girl said yes, she has to report something to the House of Fair Mothers, so she should go. Gong said she would try to visit her big sister Shahar more often. Lee told Sha that thank her very much for helping the Thousand Sword clan. Sha said he could think of it as a thank you for the tea. Sha said that in addition, thank you that these 5 days have taught her the art of pouring tea, sir. Lee said that if she dedicates herself to it, it will be very good for her body and heart. Shay said goodbye, and just as she was leaving she heard someone yell out to her, which almost even startled her. The guy told Sha to see what kind of mail is here. He'll escort her to Guangdong. The guy said, what's Guangdong? He would escort her straight to the Murima Union. Sha was angry because of this old man. He had been pestering her for 5 days. How many days could it be? Sha told him okay, let him take her to the Murima Alliance. The guy asked her, is she serious? Sha said she was so thirsty, could he bring her a glass of water? The guy immediately ran and said he would bring it to her. Running for water, the guy docked for her to wait for him for a bit. He'd be back to her in a second. Shay took the horse and said this was her chance. She said she had fun with the people. She's going out for real this time. And then a guy came in and told Mrs. Sha that he had brought her cold water. Immediately he was surprised that no one was there. The boy cried and said she told him they would go to the Murima Union together. Fellow Dong Wa said that then from that moment on, he left all the shipments going from Shirangsi to Hebei to the Thousand Swords clan. One said he had heard that he had been of great help to their clan. And now he was already asking them to be chaperones. They had done their best. Don said that Sang Heil-san also wanted to maintain good relations with the Thousand Swords clan. This is the end of the day. Lee said he thinks that's pretty much settled now, so let's get to the main topic. Lee said an unknown letter that was sent to the Murima Alliance, right? Meng said that they should learn about the history of the Buyok clan before doing so, and how they became a famous clan in a short period of time. Before the advent of bone pickers, there were 3 divine weapons in Murima. The unshakable one, which is Lee's, Dark Soul, Demon Lord of the Bloody Heavens. And Infinity, leader of the Murima Alliance. Then, there was the Bone Picker. At this time, the leader of the Murima Union, with Infinity at his disposal, had a duel with Buyok. This duel ended in a draw. Murim was forced to recognize the strength of the Buyok clan and the Bone Collector. One said that to think there was such a story. Meng said the reason Buyok suspected Hollow Thunder, it lies in the fact that they were unable to find the origin of the Bone Collector. While Hollow Thunder's swords are not entirely made of meteoric iron, there is a contrary suspicion. Li said that Meng was right. The sender of the letter must have known about the whole situation and used that information, Meng said, meaning that neither knew much about all for divine weapons. One surprisingly said that if they know about the swords of half thunder, let them just not talk. Li said that those who stole the 5 swords of hollow thunder were the ones who stole them. On that day, Gong stood by the pond and wondered why Master Li Guo was not talking to her. At the ancestral burial site, Master Li concealed his identity and offered her his teachings, but he hasn't spoken to her once since returning to the clan, as if he's been avoiding her. Gong said that she wanted to question him in so many ways. As a result, he's just disheveled now, can't even pick up a sword. Her doggy came up to her, and Gong said she knew this had never happened to her before. Gong said she hoped he was all right, the union leader. In the evening, the Murim Union. A meeting was held at the central headquarters. The leader asked Chan if there was any news about him. Chan said to forgive him, but since he went to Sharangssi, there was no news about him. Murim Union leader Tangwan was very upset that he didn't have the information he wanted to get. Sword Master Tangwan, this is a name that no Murim swordsman would ever dare to disrespect. He is the wielder of infinity, one of the 4 divine weapons, and whose nickname is the Lord of Swords, because he is known to wield swords, and he is the one who rose to the top of the Murim Union. In Murima, the people consider Thane to be the only worthy opponent to be on of the Blood Heaven Demon sect. Information that the Thousand Swords clan may have been taken over by the Blood Heaven Demon sect, it must be slander. There must be another reason why Murin decided to give her this information. Nevertheless, the council did not object to Murin's use of the destroyers. That's why he wants to listen to Chang Qian, the only one in the alliance he trusts. Let them just not say Chan is at the council right now. Tang says he's going to the bedroom, have them prepare some drinks and snacks. Tan headed to his room and dutifully followed his servants. Upon entering he saw that a table had been prepared for him to eat. Then Thane looked at the bowl and seeing his reflection thought, what does alcohol mean in it? In the red light district, the place was as bright as the castle itself during a feast. Many martial artists came to the brothels at night. In the house of 1,000 best houses, Grandma said, Illinois Wool, is she ready? Illinois said she's on her way. Grandma told Illinois to keep in mind that this was a particularly important guest. He chose her over the young girls, so take good care of him, understand? Illinois smiled and told her mistress that it would be just as she said. Immediately the guards told her to come into the room. Walking into the room she was surprised. There was a table in front of her and several people sitting and waiting for her. The girl bowed and thanked them for addressing her, and her name is Illinois Wool. Illinois walked up to the man and was surprised that he was wearing a mask. The man told her to pour him a drink. Illinois said it would be done now, and then the man asked, did Tan drink the poisoned alcohol? The guy said he thought he could burn off some of the poison in his blood with internal energy. The guy said Tan emptied the entire bottle in 2 hours. The man said that he was trying to buy some time, surely he wasn't called the Lord of Swords for nothing. Illinois thought, what on earth is he saying? Was the leader of the alliance poisoned? The man asked, what did the girl say her name was? Illinois Wool. Illinois said yes, to the young gentleman. The man took her by the chin and said she had a very pretty name. And then Illinois was scared. The man covered her mouth and asked, isn't the moon this night gorgeous? The man took off his mask and Illinois told him yes. Illinois went to the window and said the moon is so gorgeous. The man asked how the relationship between the Tang Council was going. Guy said regarding the decision on the Thousand Swords clan, unlike the council that remained neutral, Tang One was in favor of hardliners who wanted to use annihilators. The guy pulled off his mask and said he believes the council is trying to oust him because of confrontations like this. The man said that old people like peace, of course. But that also means it's time for them to go, right? The man raised his glass and said, the same goes for the Blood Heaven Demon Sect clan, if the water stagnates it rots. And then the man broke the glass in his hands and said that very soon it would rain bloody rain in the Murim. The man looked at everything angrily and remembered the words of Il, who said that the moon was gorgeous tonight. The man said Tang One for sure he's sure the poisoned alcohol is an afterthought by the council. The guy said that the extermination captain, Chiol, is still alive. The whereabouts of Tang's subordinate, Chang, who is the vice captain of the destroyers, is unknown. Right now, the leader of the alliance is in complete isolation. The man said that the 3 of them should be enough to try to touch infinity. The guy asked the chapter, is he saying he needs to take hold of infinity? The chapter said no, just a touch, However, if the opportunity doesn't present itself, it's not worth trying. How did the guy ask? The man said he didn't look like himself. He expected the question why, not how. The man said he was going to make the distrust between Tan and the council absolute. So until then, they have nothing to worry about. The guy put on his mask and said he understood. The boy bowed goodbye to his head and immediately disappeared. The man said to Illinois that it's a beautiful moon, isn't it? Illinois said yes, to the young master. The man laughed and said he had a feeling inside that felt like the sky was beckoning him. After the Murima Union was ordered to be on alert, the nights of the Murima world, full of anxiety and nervousness, became as bright as day. It seemed impossible to infiltrate the Alliance territory. For how could one avoid the gaze of 300 people, including the elite guards? However, the infiltrators were persistent and meticulous. Their target was the place with the highest degree of defense in the Murim Alliance, the bedroom of the 14th castle of the Murima Union. Immediately, the guards shouted that there was an intruder. These intruders are on the east side. The guy told them not to think that attacking an alliance of Murim with a bloody mob would make it easy for them to deal with him. The guards said they'd reveal the identity of the attackers. The guy said to find out immediately. At this point, the attackers had changed into their own, and the dead men on the gurneys were alive. Immediately they headed for the room. Tang sensed that they were under attack. The 14th castle was infiltrated by 3 spies. Quite quickly, already 45 meters away, but it's strange, he can't sense any dark or righteous energy. They are martial artists who don't use any form of energy, and then Thane anticipated all their moments, and counting to the end of the report, they appeared in front of him. Tang pulled out his sword, and with a single strike, he repelled all their attacks, and attacked with the 4th divine weapon, Infinity. It is a sword that can release an attack with energy that grows in proportion to the wielder's strength. Tang said that since the outcome of a battle between skilled martial artists, often decided even by a minor difference, the value of Infinity was incredible. And then Tang saw the 3rd attacker appear and immediately attacked him, repelling his blow. Tang said that it was just a bit of heavenly silk. Thane received the attack again and repelled it. He thought that such persistence meant their target was Infinity, not him. Immediately, the attacker let his strings on the Infinity sword again. But Thane grabbed his head with his bare hands. Tang asked him, who is behind all this? Is it the Blood Heaven Demon sect? But here he got no response from his attacker. Thane asked him again, is this advice? And then asked if he wanted to live. Tang tossed it aside and said how troublesome it was. He had yet to get rid of the remaining poison. Tang sat aside and began to heal, cultivating his power. He thought that it had been too quiet here lately. On the mountain, in a secluded place, there was a training session. And the guy told Chun that he thought he should take a short break. Chung said he's fine. They guys, too, should rest. And then he stood at the precipice. Chun thought that in the end, none of them were seriously injured. Apparently, he had shown mercy to all 50 annihilators. Chun thought, how could such a person not become world famous? This same guy is known to everyone as the strongest person. Chun realized that undoubtedly, after the appearance of this person, Li Guol, the Thousand Swords clan would greatly rise in status. Chun wondered if such a man was under the leader of their alliance. And then a guy came and told Chun that he was back. Chun asked if there was any news about the Murima alliance. The guy said there was something. The guy said that spies had infiltrated the alliance and tried to assassinate the leader. Chung was surprised and asked, did they want to kill their leader? The guy told the vice captain not to be so loud. Chun shut his mouth and said he was right. Chung asked, did they identify the spies? Guy said there was no identification, but the council intends to devote all resources to investigating the incident. The guy pulled out a letter and said there was more news. Chun asked in surprise, what kind? The guy said the leader of the Buyok Mu clan. He called for all the branches of the Buyok clan to gather. Chun asked, the entire Buyok clan? This letter did not please Chun, and he was surprised by it. For the evening, Li went to see the teacher who was buried. He asked him what he should do since he could no longer talk to him. Meng shouted to someone that this was very reckless. He had heard that the 5 missing Hollow Thunder Swords were in the Blood Heaven Demon sect, but they obviously won't bring them back so easily. Li said it's time to show the world the power of the 1,000 Swords. Woon said that but his father, Li said he would take care of them. and he, the younger brother, just let him take care of their clan. Meng asked Li, was he really going to fight against the Blood Heaven sect? Li said more specifically, he would hunt thieves hiding in the Blood Heaven demon network. Meng said, why provoke conflict when the Thousand Sword clan had only just recovered? Even if all their aggression is directed at him, they still have 100,000 followers. That will result in a lot of casualties. Li asked his younger brother, is he of the same opinion? Woon said for his older brother to forgive him. Li said that it didn't matter what they said. He would still go to the Blood Heaven demon sect even if he had to do it alone. Li realized that the very fact of their return was more important than how they would do it. And why they didn't understand that. Li saw Gong and asked her if he was going out. Gong said she just didn't want to disturb them. Li said that this mountain doesn't belong to him, and she is also from the Thousand Swords clan, at liberty to walk wherever she wants. Li asked her, does she feel uncomfortable around him? Gong said no, she wasn't. Li smiled, and suggested that Gong walk together for a while. Li asked her, does she feel upset? It must have been very difficult and awkward for her to try to talk to him. If it were her, he would feel the same way. Gong said she was mortified because there are so many things she would have wanted to ask him, but since he had spoken to him so casually, those thoughts had vanished like melted snow. Li said she learned an important lesson, be sure to remember this change in how you feel. Li said that he too felt this heaviness that she had told him about. Not only his heart, but also his martial arts level was at a standstill. Gong said that's such an accurate description. Li said it was on the battlefield, in a heavy battle. He was afraid. It wasn't because he didn't believe in his clan sword technique. He was afraid because of the murderous aura that emanated from tens of thousands of people and covered the entire battlefield. And then said Li thought that if he gave in to this aura, would he then be able to tell who was friend and who was foe? Would he die from an ally's spear in his back? Gong asked him how he overcame this fear. Li said it was simple, he just turned into a ghost that focused on killing people. Those who enter the battlefield lose the ability to leave it because their hearts and bodies are frozen with excitement. It will be the end if they die in the first battle. And they also realize that if they run away, their surviving friends will come after the escaped coward. So after surviving on the battlefield for days and nights, he becomes a ghost who would not rest without spilling rivers of blood. And then Li said she should become a ghost. It's a path that can't be avoided. Would she be able to follow it? And then Gong wondered, afraid. Heading home, Gong thought about the ghost. Why did Master Li say that? Of course, there were many times when she thought of becoming stronger. Just how many life and death situations Master Li had overcome, even though he looks as young as she does. Li suddenly asked her what was on her mind. Gong asked Master Li, how did he keep his youth? She still couldn't believe it. Li smiled and asked if she had heard of eternal youth before. And then Gong was surprised. Gong said she had heard of it, but always thought it was just a rumor spread in the Murim world. Li said that it does exist. Li told the master that he learned about eternal youth from his master. For a while, he lived as a ghost who only knew how to kill people, until one day, he came back from the battlefield as the sole survivor. He took the lives of hundreds, thousands of people. Li said that heaven gave him a new body in return. So heaven itself wants him to continue living. Li said he plans to return all 5 hollow thunder balls. Will Gong go with him? Li said he can accept his own regrets, but he can't bear to see other people's regrets. Li asked Shahar, what about her? Gong said she wanted to go with him to bring back the swords of hollow thunder. Li heard the door close and told Gog that they would talk more about it tomorrow. Just then a dog came running and Gong asked him, is he here to see her off? Li said so this is who gets all the love of the first beauty of northern Shaanxi? Gong said his name is Saryong. Murim Union leader Tang gave it to her personally. Li said that means his name is Tangwan. Gong said he is in his 70s, but he looks like a middle-aged man. When he sees Li, he will be very surprised. Li said that he believes they will meet him sooner or later. Gong thought, didn't you want to ask Master Li something else? And then she remembered. She remembered the guy saying swordsmanship. He had seen a technique similar to the Thousand Sword clan's martial art, and it's by the blood demonic heavens. That follower of the blood demon heaven, Zhen Chang, he claimed to be from the clan of the shining flying horse. Just then, Gong shouted to the master. Li asked her what was wrong. Gong said, could it be that their technique of crushing mountains with a single sword had something to do with the Blood Heaven sect? In Achang City, at the headquarters of the Byac clan's apartment, the guy thought the order to summon all the followers of the Byac clan, and now he's in trouble. After all, he's responsible for dealing with the Thousand Sword clan. What should he tell his father? The guard told him that the clan leader was waiting, he could go in. Buyok entered and was surprised to see so many people. Buyok thought that the Buyok clan was going to war. Besides, the people gathered here. All of these people are well known in the Murim world. Buyok walked over to his father's desk and his father said he was here. It was Buyok Mu, the leader of the Buyok clan. Buyok asked his father what is going on here. Buyok Mu slapped the table and said it was war. They are up against the Shining Flying Horse clan from the blood demonic heavens. Buyok was frightened and asked his father in surprise, against the bloody demonic heavens. The head said that their followers scattered throughout the Murim world have decided to follow the path of their clan. They are ready for total annihilation if necessary. For skilled martial artists volunteered to join them, in order to help them and do the right thing. Buyok Jr. asked, but isn't it extremely dangerous? The guy asked, is he afraid of the followers of the bloody heavens? Buyok said, what he is saying is that this could lead to a second Great Murim War. The guy told him not to worry so much, if he was in danger he would rescue him immediately. The head got angry and said, Wu Chan was killed. Buyok asked, was Wu Chan's uncle killed? Wu Chan secretly infiltrated the bloody demonic heavens. He had a mission to locate the bone collector. A year ago, he reported that he had found traces of Juma's kidnapper. The last they heard of him was that he was planning to infiltrate the Shining Flying Horse clan. The head took out a letter and said, here's 10 days ago. The messenger bird he had prepared was able to detect his signal. It shed light on what Wu Chang had sacrificed himself for. The letter said that Duma was in the Shining Flying Horse clan. The head said that of course, they couldn't risk starting a great Murim war with the bloody demonic heavens. The entire operation would be secret, and they would strike the Shining Flying Horse clan with lightning speed. One of the guys said the Shining Flying Horse clan, they are worthy to be his opponents. The other clenched his fist in front of everyone and said that he was just repaying his debt to the Buyok clan. Buyok said he would put his life on the line. The head said their lives wouldn't be enough. They must risk their souls. The next day, Li said that according to Shahar, the Blood Heaven Demon sect has a technique similar to the technique of crushing mountains with a single blow, and she heard it from a man named Jen Chang. Meng said it was an interesting story. Li said, does Meng know anything about it? Meng said he wasn't sure. The demons of the bloody heavens keep all the information secret. This is so that others can't know much about them. Even he, the one who is known as omniscient, does not know much about them. Li said that then he and Shahar would go and Meng would have to go back to Muju's tea house. And then Meng spilled the tea out of surprise and asked, what? Meng asked him, is he serious? Li said he was still afraid of going to the Blood Heaven Demon sect, right? Li got up from the table and said he was going to go get ready for the trip. They had a lot of fun. Meng shouted that he knew the Salaga who was navigating the Blood Heaven Demon sect like he was at home. If Li took him with him, he would find out about the clan that was related to the Blood Heaven Demon sect that Li was talking about. Li said that he should get rid of that old habit. He is very fond of hiding important information even when it is not necessary. That same day, they gathered at the sect and one said that he was asking them to be careful. Big brother, Li told him not to worry, it wouldn't take long. Fang said he would send an official letter to the Murima Union to announce that their clan was active again. Li said he knows the guy is excited, but regarding him, let him keep that information secret for a little while longer. Fang said that he would not behave rashly, great brother. And then Li turned to Dan. Li said that from now on, the path will be very harsh, so he can't take him with him. He hopes Dan understands him. Li walked up to him and said in his ear that he would tell him how to charm So Ryuan's heart. Dan asked him, was he serious? Dan stood up abruptly, and bowing told the people that he would yet meet them all again. Meng asked Li what he had told Dan Hyok. Li said it was the secret of the two men's promise. Meng said that without Dan, all the luggage was hung on him. Li said he decided to follow them on his own. Gong said he remembered the first time he met Murong Chen and Buyok Huandu. And then Li thought for a moment. Gong said that even with his status as one of the 100 Murim members and one of the 5 great clans, he looked like such a naive youngster. Gong said, the hatred he felt when she rejected him. Did it really turn him into such a petty person? Lee said that a man makes mistakes when he's young. But ambition and arrogance are two different things. Murim Chen is not arrogant. Gong asked Lee, is he saying that he is not a bad person? Lee said he accepted his mistakes and misdeeds. Lee told Shahar to remember that. When she meets him again, he won't be the same. And then the guy stopped by a coffee shop on the way. Meng said it had been 4 hours. Could they take a short break? Gong said a little longer. She thinks that if she stays like this a little longer, she will feel something. Lee asked Meng, does he happen to be jealous of Shahar's abilities? Meng said, but isn't that strange? How is it possible that her level in the art of pouring tea is almost the same as his, even though he had practiced for almost a year? And it only took Shah a month. Lee said it was very simple. The desire for strength that he had been striving for during his training had hindered his progress. Shay has a completely different goal, so her improvement continues unhindered. Lee asked Meng, what he just said is true. Is the leader of the Buyok clan sick? Meng said yes, he wouldn't joke about it. He heard that all the followers of the Buyok clan had stopped all their activities and gathered at the clan's residence. Word has it that the clan leader's chair will soon have a new master. With the bone collector missing, the end of the Buyok clan is near. Meng said it's likely that the Buyok clan itself is spreading these rumors. Lee said he thought it was like that. Meng said strangely. Even if the Buyok clan had weakened, it wasn't a group that could be handled so easily. Meng asked, so why spread rumors about their leader's illness? Gong said that maybe some of their followers just like to talk too much. Meng said that the foundation of the Buyok clan is its bloodline. It is impossible that the blood relatives of the Buyok clan cannot keep such information secret. Lee said that to be honest, he didn't see it as anything strange enough to puzzle over at all. Meng said he knew in his bones that there was more to it than that. Meng stood up and said that it was so strange, he couldn't even sit still out of curiosity, and then Meng abruptly told Lee that he had an idea. And then they started whispering to each other on the side. Just then, Lee abruptly stepped back and yelled at him. Meng asked, he is capable of doing that, right? Getting on the path again, Lee and his team reached Hubei Yichang Castle. As they entered the town, everyone began to stare at them intently. Lee was talking about how Meng could talk him into pretending to be a disciple of the Thousand Sword clan, and also Shahar's 1-year-old. Lee said it's cruel. Meng said to Guolu, can't he see how people look at them? They must have never seen such a beautiful couple as the two of them. And this is Hubei, known as the center of Murim. Meng said they should show the people of Murim who they are and announce their activities. Or maybe they and should act like a married couple. Meng said that the Buyok clan was founded about 300 years ago, almost at the same time as the Thousand Swords clan. Buyok, a collector of Kalan bones, resembles the evil arts as he gathers the energy of death from corpses. But the founder of the Buyok clan was known for single-handedly destroying over 100 demonic martial artists, and after absorbing their energy, he went up against over 1,000 demonic martial artists already. Therefore, even though they possess a demonic sword like the Bone Picker, the Buyok clan is still recognized by the Murim as a righteous martial arts clan. Gong said she still doesn't understand how their precious heritage was stolen. Meng said it's all thought. Blade Demon. He's not simple since he was honored with that title. Lee asked, is he really that good? Meng said that the demons of the heavens have a reason why they don't touch him. The person who received the title of a Blade Demon would inherit the title. No matter how many guards they have, if Duma shows up at their gate, it will already be open. The guard stopped the boys and greeted them. They asked what brought them to the Buyok clan. Meng said he was omniscient. He came to visit the clan leader since he heard he was sick. Meng said his name is Bak Ja, he is honored. Meng said that these two were the best disciples of the Thousand Swords Valve. Bak said he would gladly escort them to the clan head's resting place right now, but since he is very sick, won't they wait for a while in the guest room? Meng said he'd love to. Junior Buyok said that the Omniscient and the Thousand Sword clan had come and were waiting to meet, and then he began to tremble and think why they were here, and why they had come at this particular time. The guard asked him what he would order them to do. Buyok said he would take care of it, but for now, let him buy him some time. After being in the guest room for a few hours, Meng said he was starting to tire of it already, and then Lee opened the window and asked, didn't they get the feeling that something was wrong? Meng asked, in what way? Lee said that in such a huge place, they only met followers and not a single member of the main clan. Meng asked, is the Buyok clan hiding something? Lee said he wasn't 100% sure, but the whole place smelled like gun iron. Lee said he gets the feeling that they are preparing for war here. Buyok went to the door and hesitated to enter for a long time. The guard ran up at that time and shouted to him. Buyok said that he was just about to go in. Buyok walked in and thanked everyone for coming all the way here. He is the future leader of the clan, Buyok Hwan-do. Meng asked, this is his first meeting with those present, correct? Buyok said yes, that's correct. Meng said that he had never met the leader of the Buyok clan before, but if he hadn't he would have at least said hello when he passed nicely. Meng asked, wouldn't everyone in the Murim world say he was rude and heartless? Buyok said that perhaps they would. However, his father is very sick. Meng said not to worry, only he alone would go to meet him in person. Buyok said he was conscious now, so they could talk to him for a while. Have the gentleman follow him. Closing the doors behind him, Gong said he seemed scared. Lee said it was just something that happened between the two of them. Lee opened the door and told her to stay here for a while. He's going to look around a bit. Gong told the master that the guards probably wouldn't like that. Buyok led Meng into the room and told him to come in. Then Meng saw the head lying in front of him. Meng told the chapter that he had accidentally heard a rumor. The head told Meng to thank him for visiting him. Lee climbed to the roof of the house and said, letting the heat pass through the larynx and stabilize it inside the 5 major organs. Run this energy through the bones and filter out harmful energy. Distribute the tea aroma and absolutely focus. Lee said that it was a tea master's technique. And then he saw people preparing for battle and lining up weapons. Lee said he sees 1,000 soldiers. And a whole warehouse of weapons. Various siege weapons, even shells that can pierce iron armor. Buyok asked the guard, had they checked all the crates? The guard said of the last 4 dozen. All accounted for. Buyok said there was no way the information could leak out, their entire clan was at stake. And then Buyok raised his head sharply to the roof where Lee was standing. The guards asked him, did he see someone? Buyok said no, in broad daylight and right in the middle of the clan. Surely he must have imagined it. Lee hid behind the door and said he was good. And then Buyok said goodbye and wished them a good journey. Meng said it had been 8 years since the bone collector disappeared. The Buyok clan has been searching for Doom all this time. Lee said they even staged the clan leader's illness. The Buyok clan risks being completely wiped out in this war. Gong said that the Buyok clan and the Shining Flying Horse clan. Some piece of metal will determine the fate of many people. Lee said that if they followed the trail of the Buyok clan, they could also find clues on the Hollow Thunder swords. After walking all the way up the mountain, Lee suggested to the others that they stop here to rest. At this time on the mountain, the guy was practicing and cultivating his strength said that it wasn't enough. He thought he needed 2 things to hold the whole world in his hands. He needs the flying bloody heavenly sword to succeed, as well as unravel the secret of the 4 great weapons. Then the servant came and said that he had something to say to the master. The master said he would listen to him. The servant said he was ready to talk. And then the master turned aside his head and waited for that day. The master coming to the door said he was coming in. The elder said it was great to be able to look at the bone collectors and the swords of the Hollow Thunder. The master entering looked intently at the old man and knew that this man was a madman of 3 minds. Guy asked the madman in the courtyard of the castle of the Shining Flying Horse clan's castle. How did he like the local food? The madman said, how kind of him to take an interest. Especially since he was the one who ordered him imprisoned here. The guy asked, confinement? It's a misunderstanding, there's just something he'd like to know from him. The guy couldn't wait and told him to respond. Then the madman waved his hand and told him to take his time. The madman said he would predict what the guy wanted to ask. Who made them? Why? And why are they all in the shape of a sword? The madman said the kid is a little brat. He wants to unlock the secrets of the 4 divine weapons, doesn't he? There are 2 types of rumors. One with clear sources, and the other full of absurdities. For example, Mr. All-Knowing Meng knows everything, as his nickname implies. Whether the information coming out of his mouth was true or false, the source was clear. However, there was also a madman who only spread absurd rumors. A madman of 3 minds. A gosu who sells alcohol actually dilutes it with water. A certain high-ranking monk of a certain temple is actually a corrupt monk who is also a womanizer, and all his rumors sounded like utter nonsense. So people called him the madman of 3 minds and pointed their fingers at him. However, after 5 years of investigation, the Shining Flying Horse clan discovered that almost all of the rumors from the madman of 3 minds were true. That's why he assumed that this person would be able to tell him these secrets. The guy said the madman knows the secret of the divine weapons. The madman said that for starters, the hollow thunder swords are works of art created by Gong Bakbak. The guy said it's Gong Bek's iron fortress. The madman said that it was obvious that the hollow thunder swords contained meteoric iron, but it's not as numerous as the other 4 divine weapons. He's sure they were personally customized. Madman said, what's the problem with 4 divine instruments? If we were talking about one bone collector, that's one thing. But all 4 weapons, it would be too strange if they were all custom-made from one single blacksmith. It is most likely that the creator of divine weapons is the god of the sword, who is also a master blacksmith. The boy thought, and saw that the madman was amused. He thinks he was called crazy for a reason. The madman said he's sure their creator didn't want the 4 guns near each other. That's why they were scattered all over Murim. Agreed? The guy said, isn't that a logical conclusion for a normal person? The madman said that was the limit of what ordinary people could do. The boy asked, then what would a non-ordinary person think? The madman said that there was no doubt that the creator of these weapons actually wanted to collect them, but at the same time was afraid to do so. Guy thought that the creator wanted the 4 divine weapons to come together. The guy said people who want to get them together. Are there a lot of people like that now? The madman said there are already 3. And that includes him. The guy looked out the window and realized that meant someone else was still trying to figure out the secret of the 4 divine weapons. Then a servant knocked and asked the master if he could come into the room. The master told him to come in. The guy came in and said that information had come in from spies they had embedded in the Murim alliance. The master took them from the readings and immediately lit them on a candle so that no one could know about them except himself. The master said that from this point onwards, the Tan and the council confront each other even during formal meetings. The council declares the presence of spies in the Murim alliance and its distrust of the alliance leader. Master said that the funny thing was that Murong Chen, who had led the Annihilators after receiving that anonymous information from them, had returned empty-handed. Master said, did the full thunder chick from the Thousand Sword clan turn out to be so good? The guy said he heard it was still at the very beginning of the peak level. The master said interestingly, then I assume that the Thousand Sword clan is hiding more than just half thunder swords. How many peak level subordinates can they engage right now? The boy said they could give 13. The master said to take them and provoke Tan one more time. Have the guy get him infinity. It will be very interesting if you shake up the Murim alliance now. The guy said it would be done. Master remembered something and told Ju Woon to wait. And then he said to get those all swords. Joe asked the master why he was giving him the hollow thunder swords. The master said there was no reason to keep them as the apple of his eye. The master said to take all the P=5 to the places they talked about. He was sure something funny would happen. Joe took the swords to himself and left. The master said he was not the one interfering. Those who interfere, they'll be the bastards, in the morning, shall reach the castle of the leader of the Murim alliance. He asked the guards, the commander-in-chief, is he here? And then she screamed at him with all her might. The guard told her that he had told them not to let anyone in. She looked at him angrily and asked, did he just touch her? The guy said he didn't mean to. She told him to take his hand away. She opened the doors and shouted to the commander-in-chief. But stepping inside he saw him sitting and practicing. She told him he was going to sit around like this. Does he even know what rumors are flying around the alliance right now? She couldn't reach him, so she decided to meditate too, and meet him inside the sphere. The commander-in-chief felt as if his heart was on fire. He was upset to the point that it turned into rage. For him, Yale? Murder? That's ridiculous. What really pisses him off is the advice. They had demanded that he become a leader, even though he had been living as a hermit on the mountain. But now they suddenly began to shun him and show hostility. He dedicated his life to the future of the Murima Union. The council only wanted a puppet who would do what they said. He knew there was a price to pay for everything. That's why he didn't want to become a union leader. And then he felt that he smelled tea fragrance, and abruptly opening his eyes, he saw Seo Raiwan who was standing beside him. He laughed and wondered when she had time to learn the art of spreading tea. It had been about 20 years since he had learned it from the tea master Gong Wei. Shu Ruiyuan visited Hainan Island and contacted the master, he thought. Just then, Shu opened her eyes and asked the head, "Isn't he asleep?" The head laughed and asked her, "Did she meet with the tea master Dason Gong Wei?" The head asked, "Then how did she learn the art of spreading tea?" Xiu said he did notice that she had learned it though. From his student, the head asked, "Mr. Dason, has Mr. Dason accepted an apprentice?" Shui said that not many people know about it. She was lucky enough to find out. She's sure he's Dason's disciple. The head asked if she knew his name. Shui got embarrassed and said his name was Li Guo. That day the boy came to the master and told some information. The master asked, "So the destroyer's lost?" The guy said he expresses his deepest apologies to the gentleman. The gentleman asked for what reason he reported that the intelligence was false. The guy said that he had discovered that there was no connection between the Blood Heaven demons and the Thousand Swords clan. He should also report that apparently a follower of the Thousand Sword clan single-handedly disarmed all the Annihilators and him. Chun said, a young man claiming to be a follower of the Thousand Sword clan. He uses a one-strike mountain crushing technique like Shahar. He also dealt with them using only the first 2 posts. The master asked, "How is that possible?" The master asked him, "So they were delayed in returning because they were recuperating?" Chang said that was correct. The master said that since all the people are healthy, everything is fine. Chun said that he had heard that there had been an assassination attempt on the master. The master said there was nothing to worry about, he wasn't even scratched. The problem was that their target was not him, but infinity. Chun clenched his kulon and asked who in this world could dare. He doesn't want to believe the council is behind this. But it was time to make a decision. Chun said he would follow him to the end. Master. He told the Lord that man he had yet to take him under his wing, since he's defeated his entire squad. He's sure the kid will be a great asset to them. The master asked what his name was. Chun said his name was Li Guol of the Thousand Swords Kalanza. That night, Tang sat in his office and mouthed Li Guol's name. And how Seo had said that he was Dasong's disciple. Tang thought that according to Seo Ruiyuan, he used to own a Muju tea house. Unpredictable person. Tang was surprised that the owner of the tea house single-handedly defeated the Annihilators. And also a follower of the Thousand Sword clan. Thane asked the exterminators, "Are they here?" And then the guy said he showed up for duty. Tan said to tell him to tell Chang what he said. That he wanted to meet him. On the way, Li and his team met a man. Li asked what was the purpose of his coming here. The guy said he was here to relay the words of the Union leader to him. Shu was surprised to hear about the Union leader. The guy said he was told to tell him that he wanted to make the Thousand Sword clan a 100-sword clan. He also wishes to meet them. Meng said for what reason this is so unexpected. Did something happen in the alliance? The guy said that, in fact, there had been an assassination attempt on the leader. Meng asked in surprise, an assassination attempt? Guy said a conflict has been brewing since then between the Union leader and the council, which has remained silent. That's all he knows. Shay asked, is the Union leader okay? The guy said yes, the leader destroyed all the intruders. Li said to keep the guy honest, what is the atmosphere in the Murim alliance right now? The guy said that at the moment, half of the Annihilators, including Captain Guan, had lost contact. Currently, there were only 50 Annihilators and Vice Captain Chan on the Master's side. Fox asked Shay what she thought of the leader of the Murim alliance. Shay asked if he wanted his opinion. She said she is sure of what he was like in the past. But he knows the Union leader as someone who doesn't care about a person's background, and who only judges a man by what's inside of him. He was caring about her, and even if she doesn't know everything, if it's within her power, she'll help him. Li asked the guy, did he hear everything? Li said that she said they were willing to help. The guy bowed and thanked all the guys. Meng said well, then it's time for them to visit the leader of the Murima Union. The guy said yes, that's right. Joe told his men that they were safe in this place. The girl who served them said that he had brought his comrades today. Joe said that the master had subjected this woman to his mind control technique. The girl looked at the window and said that the moon was so beautiful. Joe said that he is now a member of their clan of the Shining Flying Horse. The boys said the Sword Lord is a dangerous opponent. Joe says they have two options, kill him or disarm him. But the main goal is to get infinity. They are the elite who were raised by their clan of the Shining Flying Horse. He is confident that each of them is capable of defeating the seasoned warriors of the Murim Alliance. However, even if he joined the battle, it would be too risky to go up against him face to face, because, Joe said, he doesn't wear his title for nothing. But it wouldn't be necessary to fight him in the open. As before, the attackers will attack the west, north and south gates. The inner castle will probably be ready for this. There will also be annihilators there as guards. While chaos reigns inside, their spy disguised as Soz warriors will attack the Sword Lord. One of the guys said that the Sword Lord and the annihilators can't trust the followers of the Alliance. Joe said yes, the Sword Lord will decide that leaving the Alliance will be much safer while under the protection of the annihilators, and once they step outside the Union, they will make their move. Even if they put pressure on the Union leader, it will be very difficult. Destroyers will undoubtedly be a nuisance, but they may not worry about that, since he has a plan to separate the annihilators and the Alliance leader, and how best to surround him, and afterward, when he's all alone, that's when they'll confront him. And then the guy said it was a full moon tonight. The girl looked up at the sky and said, "Isn't she beautiful?" Joe said that as soon as tomorrow they would turn the Union upside down. In the alley of Hubie Castle, a man was standing in the street and said it was getting late. The bald man came up to him and shouted. The man looked at him and asked, "Is he here too?" The bald man said that he had been sitting idle for a long time and that he couldn't give up this job. "In fact," said the bald man, "it should be a good fight, since there are 50 of them here, don't you agree?" And then someone asked, "Are they members of Cha Juan's group?" The man said he was in no hurry at all. Joe said he'd heard that SAs would do anything if they got paid for it. The man said he'd do anything else. If you say that, other people may misunderstand it. They are doing a good job for good money, and good money is big money. Otherwise they won't take the job. Joe said he got off on the wrong foot. Let me show them his sincerity first. And then Joe threw a wooden box in front of their feet, from which they were all surprised. Joe said there's 1 silver each. It's just a down payment. They'll get 2 more of these crates after work. People started asking, is this the kind of work that pays so much? They should know what they have to do. John laughed and said that they had nothing to worry about. In fact, it was very simple. Tang went outside and looking at the sky said that the sun was as bright as yesterday. However, today it seemed much hotter, as if they were all in a cauldron, and then he heard the familiar sound of footsteps for him. Turning around, he said, "It seems like it's been 3 years?" Master Jungwoon, the council representative from the Kunlun Chong clan, said it's been a long time, Mr. Leader. Chan said that every year it's getting harder for this old man to move around. Tang said they were almost the same age, even though he didn't say so. Jong said he was sorry. He thought that as the leader of the union, he would be unshakable, and he still thinks so. Tan asked him, "Really?" Jong said probably. Abolishing the council would probably be a good idea. I'm sure they don't like them, right? Tan said he was hurt to hear that. Jong said not to keep such a distance, he's here to talk. Chan said each council has its own agenda, but what does it expect by shielding itself from the public? One day, he will realize the benefit of their efforts. Will he be able to hold out until then? Tan wondered if he should believe him. Tang said to let him treat him to tea next time. Chan told him to take care of himself, Mr. Leader. Council and Tang. Li Guo's group that is heading to the Alliance, and the assassin of the Shining Flying Horse clan, as everyone's thoughts wove themselves into a growing tangle. The silent sunset of the Murim Alliance was coming. At the Murim Union Guard post, the guard shouted that all was quiet at the east gate. And at the west gate, all quiet, too. The guard told the master that everything was calm everywhere. Chan told him to keep monitoring the situation. Chan thought and hoped that everything would remain calm, and no problems would arise. At midnight the guard said it was getting cold. The second guard asked the first guard if he thought the guys on the other side might have dozed off. The guard said not to judge by himself, they are responsible guys. And then the first guard asked the guys, are they okay? Any frostbite yet? But no one answered his question. The guard asked them why they did not answer, and the second guard told him to stand. Opening the gate, they prepared to fight, but there was no one in front of them. Everything around them was empty. The guard said to report to the exterminators. But before he knew it, he was stabbed from behind. Joe said the spooks are next. And they're waiting for the right moment. And immediately the spies went to their places. The guards were shouting that the east gate had been attacked. Had the others guard the Union head's castle and the council building? Tan was angry and slapped his hand on the table and said, "Twice already. They are bullying him." The old man said he was sorry. This old man was a strategist of the Murim Union, and his name was Gong's son. Tang told him to find out who was involved, and if he can't, he will take full responsibility for the incident. Gong told Master that it's too dangerous. Tell him to go back immediately. Tang came out and Chan greeted him. Tan asked him what is the situation at the moment. Chan said that an gate on each side was attacked. They were successfully repulsed. The total casualties amounted to 35 men. At this moment, the followers of the Murim Alliance and they, the destroyers, are searching for the remaining intruders. Gong said that the vice-captain had done a good job. Now Master, let him leave all the hassle to his subordinates and walked back in. And then someone shouted that the invaders had entered. Let everyone defend the leader of the alliance. Chan said to Stratosh, take the leader inside. Tan says he's leaving it all on them, but then Tan noticed someone attacking him from behind, and immediately drew his sword to attack. Tan killed all the attackers and said there were spies inside the alliance. Chan looked at him and told the leader. Tan said that was their plan? Snake bastards. Gun thought it was a conspiracy to persecute the leader outside the alliance. They can't protect the leader because they don't know how many spies have infiltrated the alliance. Tan thought they really couldn't do anything even knowing their intentions. Tan said to have the strategist take care of everything here. Immediately, he went somewhere. Chan said for everyone to follow the leader. Gun said that everyone not in the extermination squad should stay put. Anyone who moves must be prepared to be killed. At that time, Joe was standing on the mountain with his men. He said that he was finally the leader of the Union. Everyone wait for the signal, and then they arrived at the site and Chan said he thought they were far enough away to be safe. Tan said that since they don't know who their enemy is, it's better to keep moving all the time. And then a guy came and told the leader. Thane asked him that the alliance was okay. Guy said he was afraid the council castle had been attacked. Tang asked if the invaders were also targeting the council like that. Chan said what was the point of them attacking the council building. The guard said it was all a ruse. There was evidence in the pocket of one of the attackers, indicating his involvement with the exterminators. And then Tan and Chan were surprised by the news. The Guardian said that even now the council suspected him, leader Tan.